All right, we're live here at the Station of Decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by the returning Adam Marcus.
Yayo!
And making his first appearance here, director Michael Felsher.
Hello, sir.
Hello. We're here to talk about Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Final Friday, which we've talked about for years, and now it's finally going to be playing.
I like how you said, we've been talking about it for years, and now it's finally coming out. Oh,
like
my God.
Like a spike through my heart. Yes, yes.
Which a world premiere, March 8th at FrightFest Glasgow. That's very exciting. So
it's really exciting.
Yeah, after, like I said, all these years, what's it feeling like going in, not only that it's, it's completed, but to watch it with people?
I mean, look, all I can tell you is that the reason I'm so excited about it has nothing to do with the amount of years to make it. That's for sure. The reason I'm excited about it is because it's a really good movie. And I have to say, what was the purpose of this? I know a lot of the fans and a lot of people who supported the film. God bless every one of them. They desperately wanted this thing like now. Don't I get my Blu-ray now? When do I get my Blu-ray? Is it now? Is it now? And I kept saying to people, guys, look, we're not doing a behind the scenes. This isn't a DVD extra. This is a feature film, and I'm going to treat it with the same care as every feature film that comes through Skeleton Crew, or every feature film I've ever worked on. So we crafted something. We didn't just put something out. And a lot of the docs that have been made regarding not just Friday the 13th, but a lot of horror franchises, they're just like so quickly done. The ones that are great, right? The ones that are like amazing docs, they last as long as the franchises.
Yeah.
They have weight. And so for me, I was like, I don't want to do this until we have something that we're proud of. And I have to tell you, there were two elements that happened in the last few years on the production of this, because this is 5 years from working on this movie. There's a couple things in the last few years. One was, one of my closest friends since childhood, who was an OG Skeleton Crew member when he was 15 years old. This guy came in to edit, a guy named Eric Beatner, who's a 9-time Emmy-nominated editor. He cuts all of The Amazing Race, and he did every Fear Factor back in the day. This guy came in to edit the movie for us, and he did that under the instruction of this amazing guy. And again, I know he hates whenever I compliment him, but suck it up, Buttercup. He is, look, when we finally got together with Michael, and Michael came in halfway through this process, suddenly there was someone who had a voice and a story he wanted to tell. And he pitched it to myself and the rest of our producing team. Dude, two of us started literally weeping as he was telling us the story that he wanted to tell and how he wanted to approach this thing. And suddenly it was like, oh my God, we have a filmmaker that knows the story that he wants to tell. Like, we know what this movie is now. And that's why I'm excited to see with an audience, because they're going to see something they're not expecting. They're going to see something that's really funny and that has a tremendous amount of heart. And that's not what people are expecting out of, a Friday the 13th doc.
Yeah. So, Michael, when did you get involved? Because when I had people on before, you were not involved at the time.
No, well, interestingly enough, this hat I'm wearing is because I was one of the early investors in the project on the Indiegogo campaign long before I became involved with it. And I just happened to pull this out of the drawer today. I was like, oh, that's right. I probably should wear this. And, I've been doing my own thing with my own company for years and, producing I don't know how many hundreds of different Blu-ray and DVD special editions. And I was a little bit involved in Crystal Lake Memories. I shot some stuff for that. But Friday the 13th was like the big franchise I never really got to do anything on. And by chance, Peter Brackey is a good friend of mine. He wrote Crystal Lake Memories, and he wrote the documentary as well, and was just a really great guy. And I play video games with him practically every night, including Friday the 13th, the game. We played that game, I think, for almost 3 or 4 years straight before it, they finally stopped updating it. Anyway, long story short, I found out through Peter that they were looking for a new director for the documentary. And I have always self-generated my own work or started my own work from beginning to end. I've never come in later in a process and taken something over like that. And I was a little reticent first to even think about it because it's like, well, they've shot a lot of their stuff already. But then I thought, well, this might be an interesting opportunity to do something different, to step into a process where things are already, the die is already cast to a certain degree, and then see, what it's going to be like to work with these people. And I had wanted to meet Adam, for a long time. And I thought, well, if nothing else, it's worth a meeting just to see if there's, if there's a chemistry there or not, or if there's anything working. Well, we had a really great meeting initially. And then I got a sneak chance to look at a lot of the footage they shot, because most of the interviews were already shot at that point, including Adam's interview, which I think ran 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. I mean,
it's 9 hours. It's actually 9 hours.
Go through it all. The sun will rise and set by the time it's all. And it became very clear to me right off the bat that, this isn't really the story of the making of a Friday the 13th sequel. I mean, it is on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really the story of Adam getting to make his first movie. This is a filmmaker's first foray into the field that he wants to spend the rest of his life in, and all the rewards and pitfalls that can wait for you. There's and it's always interesting to hear a first-time filmmaker go back and talk about things that they couldn't possibly have predicted, things that they couldn't possibly have been ready for, and other things that they were completely ready for that didn't happen. I mean, it's just, it's such a minefield you have to negotiate. And on top of that, having the expectations being that this was the 9th entry in an established franchise. So you're not even really allowed to strike out on your own without anyone having any preconceptions or expectations going in. He's going in on the 9th film, and he's doing something very different, very outside the box that the franchise had not seen before. And so that and Adam is just such an engaging presence on camera. He's really, you get drawn into his stories and you really like him. And for me, it was very obvious. It's like, this is about him. This whole thing is going to hang on his shoulders to a large degree, and everybody else is going to come in to tell their little part of their involvement with him on this journey. And that was pretty much what I pitched to Adam and Allie, his producer, and Brian, and Deborah, I think, was there too. Mm-hmm. I think we talked. And it was just, to me, I would love to take more credit for this incredibly brilliant concept I had, but to me, it was so obvious just by watching the footage that it was just like, no, this is sort of the Adam Marcus story with Jason kind of hovering through it.
Yeah, you say it's obvious, but I think if you bring new eyes into something, you can see it right away, where everyone else, they're so involved in it, they don't see that.
That's very true. And I'm not saying I'm not brilliant. I am. But the thing is, it's just
and humble.
I'm the most humble motherfucker you're ever going to meet.
True that.
I'm the king of Humbleton. Dumb. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
I just made up. I don't know.
Didn't XTC write a song about that?
I think so. But in any case, no, it was really, and it was, again, for me, the deciding factor was we had great stuff. The footage was there, and it was a matter of then just adding a few other things, getting some more screening events under there that we could really kind of cut back and forth to. And one that we intended to shoot a lot at that ultimately fell apart. It was I had to go into the hospital for like an emergency little thing. It ended up not being that serious, but I was going to tape this event that they were doing out in Pennsylvania that completely fell apart in spectacular fashion over many stages. And I desperately wish I had been there to film all that, because that would have been a doc in and of itself.
100%, like an amazing doc.
Yeah, but what do you?
Jason Takes PA event.
Was, God! And there's some footage of it that Adam managed to get that's actually in the doc. But in any case, what was the rewarding thing for me was just really meeting and working with Adam. That's been the big reward out of this thing for me, was getting to meet somebody who says, how have I not met or worked with this guy before after all this time?
Yeah, it's nice.
And then it was I can't give enough credit to Eric Beetner as the editor of this thing, because he had to, I mean, the amount of, I don't know how many hours of footage it was, something like close to 40 hours of footage total that he had to wade through, which is, I don't say par for the course for the documentary, but certainly with one this far reaching, that's a lot to sort through. And he's the one that had to go in there and find a way to, what do we need? You know, what do we need? What do we not need? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I would think without like the narrative, like with the idea, okay, this is going to follow Adam Marcus, it's kind of a daunting task just to have so much footage. But then, like, if you have the idea, like, this is the story we're going to tell, it would be at least easier.
As an editor, he had the skeleton, you know, to build everything off of.
Yes,
that's what you need in a documentary. What is the main skeleton? What is everything going to hang on? And then you build all the rest of it. Yeah. And the main thing,
I always think it's kind of a myth when people like say like a documentary isn't a narrative, because you are telling a story.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
It's a total narrative. It's an absolute narrative.
It's
a good documentary is, at least.
Right. Yeah, I always hate when people say stuff like, "Oh, that movie was too manipulative." It's like, well, if it's not manipulative, it's not working.
Yeah, then what's the point?
You know, there's good manipulation, there's bad manipulation. That's fine. But to say, "Oh, I don't like movies that are manipulative," fuck you. Of course,
but then you don't like movies.
Yeah, Jaws is manipulative as hell, but it's manipulatively. Great.
There would be no score in a movie that wasn't manipulative at all.
No, everything is designed to an effect. But of course, with a documentary, and this always happens, and it's happened with me with numerous projects, you'll get an incident that happened on set that a lot of people were there for or saw. And you'll get 5 interviews. Everybody remembers it with great detail. But none of those 5 fucking stories line up at all. Everyone has their own completely different take on exactly what happened. It's a Rashomon. It always is. Because everyone's bringing their perspectives, their mood that day, their, personal goals on that project into what they're viewing. And so sometimes you have to sit there and go, okay, what is the real most likely story here? And you have to kind of construct it out of those bits, or you just present all of it and let the viewer decide what actually happened. So it is a narrative. It's definitely figuring out a way to, you enhance the story to some degree, but with a documentary, you really do have to play by certain rules. You can't just make shit up or get too over the top with it. Because if you start doing that, then you lose everybody. And
by the way, to that end, one of the things that was really cool to watch Michael and Eric do was there was a lot of stuff in the doc that was, salacious by nature, just sort of stories and things that happen that you're like, Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah.
But if there was something that could not be verified at the source, it was treated in a very different way, or it was cut entirely.
Yeah, because that stuff, everyone wants the dirt. Everyone wants the gossip. Everyone wants the, who's fucking who behind the scenes, stuff like that.
That happens on Adam. Yeah.
That's on every movie. I mean, I've got footage in my archives of stories that people have told me, which is just like, oh my God, that's a great story. I cannot include that or I'll never work again.
Exactly.
And also it has to do with the tone. Again, it's like, if you want to have those kind of stories in there, it kind of like, it kind of soured the milk here a little bit. Right. It's just like, I mean, you can, so you find a way to tell that and gift that information without telling the story.
Right.
You give the impression in the documentary, people are going to be able to make up their own minds. Oh, I see what was really going on here behind the scenes. And you just focus on, you just figure out what tonally works or what doesn't. And there's no scientific method to this. There's nothing written down that can tell you how to make something work or not make something work, because it's all in the footage. You can go into a documentary with any number of preconceived ideas about what you're going to get in the end, but in the end, you're going to sit there with this footage, and the footage is going to tell you what it is. And then you have to decide, okay, what do I actually have here? It's like making any movie.
Yeah.
You shoot a movie and you think in your head, this is the movie we're making, and then you get in the editing room, oh, we made something completely different. Holy shit.
100%.
And so you can try to, hammer a square peg into a round hole, or just acknowledge what you have and make it the best version of that. And documentary is very much the same. And so Eric, I really, again, I cannot give enough credit to for how well this thing turned out, because he had to whittle through an awful lot of stuff and a lot of good stuff that he had to make a judgment call on. It's like, do I include this? Do I not include this? And ultimately, he had really just great instincts. And it meant less work for me in a way, because I could just say, I want this kind of feel, and he would go off and get that. And I didn't have to sit there and go, no, shape this. He was beyond that. He had an instinctive feel for the material, and it just made the process really easy for me.
Go on, Adam.
Well, and part of the reason for that was that Eric was supposed to be on the editing team of the original movie of Jason Goes to Hell. He got a job as an editor on the movie. So the beginnings of his career were attached in some way to Jason Goes to Hell, again, because him and I, look, the number of people I was able to give jobs to on that movie who were childhood friends. I mean, Adam Cranner, Kip Marcus, there were like all these people that I brought from my childhood into the movie, not to mention the fact that Noel Cunningham and I were best friends since we were 8 years old. So there was a lot of that. Eric was, again, he's my closest friend of the last 40 years. And that relationship included Jason Goes to Hell. So there's a lot of that story that's in there to boot. So it's kind of, it's all sort of, it's all intertwined. And that's kind of what gives the movie its family feeling to it, because it really does end up being about this family of filmmakers who all ended up becoming friends. Like all of the people involved in this movie, I still consider friends to this day. Minus one.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is he in it? Is Shawn Cunningham in the? Well, did you ask him to be in it?
We did many times. So he was requested by everybody involved in the film and by myself. He never responded to any of us.
Not even a no, just no response.
No response. And by the way, that includes Peter Bracke, who reached out to him 3 times. And if you remember, Peter Bracke spent an unbelievable amount of time with Shawn during Crystal Lake Memories. Like he was the spine of that story. So, he really blew off everybody. And by the way, listen, that's his prerogative. He can do what he wants, but we did reach out. We did say, no, please come join us. We want to hear your side of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was also, that was with every single person. I let people know up front, look, I don't have to be at your interview. I don't ever want anybody to feel like they can't say what they want to say. You say whatever you want to say. If I'm there, if I'm not there, if you want me there to talk with you about it, great. If you want to just cut me up, cool. Ask me not to show up, or if you want to confront me face to face, you can do that too. So I put that to everybody, and everyone wanted me at their interviews. It was very funny. I didn't go to Kane's interview, and he was pissed at me. And I was like, dude, I wanted you to have the room to just say what you wanted to say. He's like, oh, get the fuck out of here. You should have been here. Next time I see you, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, okay. All right, dude.
That sounds like Kane.
So this was a warts and all documentary. So if Shawn wanted to say anything, more than welcome to. We were happy to have him. Didn't want to. Okay.
It happens. So it's my only thing with something like that is I do wish that there was a reach out saying, no, not interested, or no, thank you. Yeah. It's when you don't get the response at all. There's always that little bit in the back of your mind. It's like, did they ever get the, but we know that he did.
We know he did.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like, all you can do is reach out. All you can do is try. Yeah. And if they decide not to, you don't have to like it, but you have to respect the choice and leave it at that. And ultimately, he's a presence in the documentary.
Yes.
He gets, he gets his just dues for the, producing the film and everything. And, he talks about, because, Adam knew Shawn since he was a kid. He was on the original film. Adam was on the set of the original Friday the 13th. So it's not like we go out of our way to ignore Shawn or anything like that at all.
No.
So.
And by the way, just so that in my 9 hours of interview, and by the way, Michael's he's very modest. It was not 40 hours of footage. It's over 90 hours of footage these guys had to come through. It's 90 hours.
40, 90, whatever.
Yeah,
it's just,
no big deal.
It was a lot. Let's just, it was a lot.
In my interview, I made sure to say every positive thing that I feel about Shawn and about what Shawn did and about what Shawn did for me. Like I can't stay. Look, there are a lot of people who are going to treat you badly in our industry. That's our industry. By the way, and our industry is no different than any other industry. People screw each other over in everything. If you're a podiatrist, I guarantee you have a partner who screwed you at some point. The thing is that I am someone who I am all about being fair and justice for everybody. And Shawn was truly, to this day, one of the greatest line producers I've ever worked with in my life. Like, he was unbelievable. What I needed was on set. And if I didn't have it, he figured out a way to get it for me or to make it work another way. So he was great in regards to that. He is the person who gave me my career. I know that. I'm not an idiot about that. He's also the person who tried to steal my career away from me. And I have no problem saying that either. So he did a hatchet job on me afterwards that was like, what the hell, dude? While he was running away with bags of money from this movie, he was throwing my name in an incinerator. So, and I was like a son to him.
Yeah. So, along those lines, because I know you embrace the haters, and you're talking about, these bad experiences. And now, as anyone ages, you look at things differently. But was there a time where you didn't embrace like the hate, some of the fans who hated the movie? Did that affect you differently, like earlier?
Yeah, it totally did. Look, I will say this. I've had when this movie got made, the internet was like, nothing.
It was like the extreme caveman days of the internet.
Right. Every time you got on the internet, you had to hear that bing, 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 for 40 minutes to get on the internet. Right. So I remember we first started playing Doom just as we were finishing up Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah. And that was mind blowing. Right. So the hate was I got just as much love as hate. It was equal parts at that point, right? And then there's that douchebag who made that video on YouTube, early YouTube days, how New Line destroyed the Friday the 13th franchise. From that point forward, it was like hate on parade, okay? At the beginning, the haters, I would only deal with them if they showed up to a convention that I was at. And there was one incident at a Fango convention. There was an incident where a guy had asked to, he was a reporter and he wanted to talk to me. And he asked to buy me a drink in the bar. Now, I don't drink, but I was like, yeah, you can get me a soda. Like, we'd sit and talk, sure. And I'm there with my buddy, John Esposito, right? And John Esposito and I we go sit down at the bar. He's got a buddy with him and he's got his notebook out and all of this. And he starts recording me and he launches into a hate fest with me. And this guy was just trying to bait me. Yeah. And here's what's amazing. And it's the day that I took on the way I deal with the haters. John pushed the table aside to beat this guy up. Like, went to grab him. And John is shorter than I am. So it was hilarious. Like, it was like my buddy was going like, you motherfucker. I'm like, immediately like went in. And I was like, no, stop. And I sat down with the guy and I said, okay, I got it. You don't like the movie. What don't you like about the movie? What do you not like? Well, I mean, come on, man. I mean, there's no Jason in it. I said, oh, okay. There is, but okay, let's take you at that, right? What else do you not like about the movie? It was this long pause. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, so did you like the effects? You like the kills? Oh, yeah, no, the kills were great. I said, yeah, I mean, like, and how about that tent kill? He's like, yeah, I mean, that's like in the top 5. I was like, okay, great. Okay. How about the acting? You think the acting was good? Yeah. Was cinematography good? Well, yeah. Okay. Did you like Harry's score? Well, Harry's badass. So fuck yeah. Harry's awesome. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So you like the kills, you like the acting, you thought the music was good. There wasn't enough Jason in it. So as a fan of this franchise who has 8 movies previous, one with no Jason of any kind except a hydrocephalic head kid in a lake, a second one with a potato sack head Jason, and one that literally has a guy pretending to be Jason, but the other movies are just hockey mask galore. I said, you really wanted the same fucking thing again. You just wanted to repeat. Every fan says they want something different. and you just want to repeat. Is that what you're saying? Or do you want filmmakers to actually try to give you something cool and something different and something new? And I said, if you don't want that, that's cool. If all you want is Jason, I said, there's 5 other films that are nothing but hockey masks. Go watch them, man. Those are all for you, dude. Those are your movies. I said, my movie has got hockey mask. And by the way, just for edification for the audience, it has more hockey mask than a lot of the other movies that Jason was the sole person in the movie.
Yeah,
because they barely showed it.
Whole damn enchilada podcast says part 4 Jason is on screen less than Jason Goes to Hell.
That is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true. And again, I understand if the thing you bought and paid for was to see a guy in a hockey mask killing teenagers for 90 minutes. I did not make that movie. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. By the way, what I don't understand is when there are people who get really angry at me, and it actually just turns me on. So like whenever they do it, I'm like, you're just giving me strength. When people get upset that I related Jason to the Evil Dead, and people get pissed, I'm like, what are you pissed about? You guys all bought the comic book Ash versus Freddy versus Jason, but you're angry that I actually set up that universe for you? You bought the comics. The same guys who are pissed that I'm like, well, Jason was resurrected by his mother with the Book of the Dead. And then I also love that's not canon. I'm like, no, it is canon, motherfucker. I made a Friday the 13th movie. Sorry. Your fan film does not push my movie out of the way. Sorry. So again, I adopted it back in the day before the internet of like, hey man, listen, you don't like the movie, that's cool. And by the way, I'll have a conversation with you about it. Like, let's debate it. I'm cool with that because I love Friday the 13th. I'm a huge fan. I'm a big freaking horror nerd. That's why all that shit's in Jason Goes to Hell. Like, who else put the crate from Creepshow in a Friday the 13th? I did that shit because I'm a nerd. So it's like, look, everybody's going to have their favorites. Everybody's going to have the ones that they don't like. I mean, don't get me started on the Halloween franchise, right? But you know what? I swung for the fences. And if you don't want filmmakers that swing for the fences, well, then you're not going to get great movies ever. We have to be given the latitude to like do something cool. And so I wanted to do something cool because I am a fan and because I felt as a fan of the Friday franchise, I was always being talked down to. I know what the executives say because I've been in the rooms and they sit there and go, these people who like these movies are fucking idiots. Those are the words they use. Mm-hmm. And they say, just give them a bunch of tits and blood and they're fine. Those are the words they use about the people that are pissed at me for trying to make a different kind of movie for them. I don't say that. I never say that about the fans. I'm like, no, because I am a fan. So I want to be treated with respect. Yeah. I want a filmmaker to love what they're doing. I loved making Jason Goes to Hell. I loved making that movie. And not because I was getting paid a lot of money, because I wasn't. I wanted to do something that was unique and interesting and a movie that as a fan that I wanted to see. And I make no apologies for that ever.
Well, it's always a double-edged sword. And I've been saying this for years that let's say you go and grab 10 Friday the 13th fans, like diehard Friday the 13th, and you put them all in a row. And you ask each and every single one of those 10 people, what would you like in a Friday the 13th sequel? You're going to get 10 completely different answers from these people. And they're not going to be compatible answers either. So at the end of the day, all you can really do is serve up the most generic thing that's going to appeal to hopefully the most people possible, which in the end isn't going to please anybody really. Or you can try something different. And like, I'll be perfectly honest, when I first saw Jason Goes to Hell, I didn't like it very much because I was a big continuity nerd from the Paramount movies and I wanted him to pick up where it was. And this was like, oh, wait a minute. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, didn't I just watch? It's like The Hidden and he's hopping from body to body. I was like, what the fuck is this? But as I divorced myself from those expectations and I left that behind and I revisited the movie, well, actually, you know what? This is actually very clever. And actually, I do enjoy the kills and I enjoy the cinematography. And it's like, okay, and so it's okay not to like something. And it's certainly not okay if you don't, the movie doesn't, you don't respond. But a lot of the reasons I hear have almost nothing to do with the movie itself. Like, it's funny, just the other day, just yesterday, or actually, no, excuse me, today, Arrow announced the Jason Goes to Hell 4K officially. And to read the comments, again, Jason's not in this fucking thing. Screw it. That's bullshit. Fuck this movie. I hate this movie. It's like, well, this is some, enlightening conversation. It's just like,
and you're not forced to buy it either.
No, and well, guess what? They're all gonna fucking buy it. They're all gonna fucking buy. But again, I don't like getting. I don't want to sit here and tell anybody that they are not entitled to their opinion.
Of course,
sure.
But at the end of the day, it's just like I kind of wish, and I've had to learn this too, that you go into any film with a set of sometimes you can't help but go in with expectations.
Yes.
And I have found that I actually enjoy movies, and I'm able to treat them a lot fairer if I leave my shit out of the theater and go, okay, what story are they trying to tell? And did they do a good job telling the story that they were trying to tell?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I didn't make the movie, they did. So I have to go by what they're looking to try to do. And on those terms, I think Adam did a really great job, And even Adam says he wishes Kane could have been in it more.
Oh, yeah.
But the nature of the way that film is constructed, you just couldn't. But the moments that Kane's there are fucking great. So, and it makes his return in the end of the movie even better. Because like, oh, there he is.
Yes, the audience cheered every night of that. Every time I saw the movie screen, people lost their fucking minds.
Yeah, when he launches out of the floor, it's like, there's my boy, And it's great. No, it's. I have come around on the film, certainly. It is a film that I did a commentary for it with Steve Barton for the upcoming release. I mean, between you and me, we rag on the film nonstop. We just totally rip it a new asshole. But I think people will enjoy it. It's
not just because Adam is here. I've told this during the show several times. I myself did not like when I first saw the movie. I graduated in '94, so I must have been a junior when I went to see it. It was me and my friend Joey went to see it, and there was one other guy in the audience. It was a small theater near me at the time. And anyway, when he bites into the heart, we start laughing. The one other guy in the theater got pissed, and he sat there so pissed the whole movie because we were laughing. And then he stormed out after the movie. I think we ruined the movie for him. And then, but years later, when I watch it now, it's one of my favorite of the franchise, and I love it that it's so crazy. I totally agree about doing something different with the franchise, especially one that has so many. Otherwise, exactly what we said, you're just going to see the same thing.
There's a lot of that was my weird thing about Part 5. People were just like, it's not Jason.
One that I like a lot.
Oh, I love Part 5. I can't get enough of Part 5.
Yeah,
but people was like, it's not Jason. Well, it's a 6'5" guy in a fucking hockey mask running around killing people still. Isn't that close enough? I mean, Jesus Christ. And again, it's just like, we've gotten a lot of this. I mean, I understand when people want a Big Mac, they want a fucking Big Mac. Okay, yes. I get that.
Yeah.
But sometimes don't you want a little bit something? Sometimes you want something different, don't you?
Yeah, don't you want the Szechuan sauce?
Yeah, and we're not keeping you from having a Big Mac. We're just trying to give you a little something different.
Yeah.
And I do remember. I don't know if I've ever told Adam, when I saw that movie, I knew some of the stuff that was going to happen in it because I had been reading in Fangoria.
Right.
Even Fangoria had been a little vague about how certain things were going to go.
Oh yeah.
When Richard Gant picks up the heart and he starts munching on it, everyone in the audience that I was with, including myself, was like, he shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. Oh no. What the fuck is he doing? And then I knew I was going to eventually, I realized how much I should have known I was going to enjoy this movie. When we walk out with a POV from him and there's Kane Hodder sitting there going, Jason's just a big old pussy anyway. And it's like, all right, I see what this is going to be. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, and then to see the tent scene in the movie theater where you basically just hear something happen and then Richard Gant walks away from the tent. And you're like, well, that was really fucking underwhelming. And then you read the unrated VHS. It's like, well, how much work is there? Oh my dear sweet God. It's like, well, they should have been doing unrated tapes a long time ago. This is nuts. That was the first time they ever did an unrated version of a Friday the 13th movie officially.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the first time that ever happened.
They put both of them out at the same time, and at that time it was the biggest video hit that New Line had ever had, because every mom and pop shop had to buy 2 tapes instead of 1.
Right. And of course, Blockbuster carried just the R-rated version, which who gives a fuck?
By the way, they carried the R-rated version, but they bought the unrated boxes.
Right, which was low.
They put the R-rated in the unrated box.
So because a lot of people probably think that, oh wow, there's no difference in this movie.
Well, no, and we knew to look out, because the unrated one had a black spine, the R-rated one had a red spine. So if you saw that's the unrated one, then you get home, it's like, those motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yep, it was really gross. By the way, the other thing I'll tell you, just to finish up the thing about the haters.
Yeah.
There are comments that I'll read from some of these guys, and it's usually guys. And I finish reading the comment, and I just go, the reason why I guess I can't get mad is because I want to go, hey, man, you need a hug.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you're right, because you don't seem all right. Like, this isn't, my movie's not your problem. Like, that's not the problem.
Yeah, they take it really personally. This fucked up my childhood. This is what I loved. You took this shit all over. It's like, no.
So, who touched you in your no place?
Well, that's like, I mean, look, I was never I was a huge Star Wars guy, and I did not like the prequels, and I've had a lot of issues with you, but I never once in my life would George Lucas shit on my childhood.
Exactly.
No, you know what you know what the worst thing George Lucas has ever done to me? He made some movies I didn't like.
Right.
Yeah, and I just don't watch them. So I watch you.
Big deal.
Right. Honestly, for me, I had no problem with the prequels. I didn't like them, but I didn't have a problem with those. I had a problem when he started fucking with the original movie.
Yeah,
he started re-editing those. Was like, hey, dude, keep your fucking hands off.
Especially when you couldn't get the old ones.
No, that's
right.
The thing. Yeah. Well, I lost a big part of my Star Wars fandom when he ruined my favorite moment in all of Star Wars, which is when Darth Vader picks the Emperor up and throws his ass. Yeah. And he added that no, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, but we could get off on Star Wars for 4 hours.
True that.
We'll save that for the Star Wars documentary.
Oh God, you're gonna. Oh yeah. They're gonna bring me on for that after this. Yeah, they're gonna. Oh yeah.
So, Adam, what was the experience like to? Obviously, you've talked about the movie for years on podcasts and at conventions, but to like really go in depth and talk about the movie, the experience, what it's meant to you, and also hear what it's meant to other people.
So I did my interview. One of the last things we shot was my interview. And we did that on purpose. Yeah, because I was like, I want to hear what everybody else has to say. And then if I can address something that we think is
you can refute the charges.
Exactly. No, I actually, and by the way, I never did that. I really didn't.
No,
what I did was, if there was something we thought was interesting, like, ooh, that's a cool story, I would refer to the story. I would say some of that story, so it would bolster, what the person had talked about. What I have to tell you is that we did, I think, almost 40 interviews before I was interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And what was great about that was that, and I was present at almost every interview because people asked me to be, and again, I gave them the option. I don't have to be there. Like, you do your thing. What was great was that these stories would come up and I would get like choked up about it. Like, it was like amazing to watch people talk about it. Again, to Michael's point, from their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So the perception of me, the perception of Kane, the perception of Shawn, all of these things coming from different people was actually amazing to listen to. I will say, especially, there were 2 that really stuck out. Mark Ordesky, our executive at New Line on the movie, him and Mike DeLuca were our 2 executives. Yeah. And Mark came in, and Mark is responsible for the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, he is the guy who got those done.
That's when New Line became New Line.
New Line, right? Yeah, no more horror here.
No,
yeah. That's when it became very highfalutin.
Yeah.
But Mark is a brilliant guy, and Mark is only a few years older than me. He was like one of the youngest executives at New Line at the time. When Mark talks about their excitement at New Line and their excitement at looking at the footage and his excitement meeting me and hanging out and talking about the movie, it's amazing because you go like, here's a guy in a suit. Like, you're not expecting that guy to have memories that are really fond of a movie like this or about the pre-production of a movie like this. And it was wild because I'm like, man, you really dug this. And he's like, yeah, I really did. And it's a suit. Like, that's not the guy who's supposed to love these movies, but he did. The other person was Julie Michaels. And Julie was ready to leave the industry. She had been so mistreated as a woman in the industry. She had been so just really bad stories about just shit she went through in the industry. And she was going to leave. And Kane came to her and her boyfriend, Pee-wee, who now is her husband. Amazing stuntman and coordinator. And Julie is an Emmy-winning stunt coordinator. Kane came and said, look, you got to meet this director. He needs someone to do this, this, and this. And I'm telling you, this will make you feel strong again. Like, working with somebody like this, and I will train you to do everything you need to do in the movie, and you will be in safe hands, right? And so she came to meet with me. And by the way, this is a woman who literally on the day I met her had to do a body check. So she walks into my office, we talk for a little bit, and then she drops her robe and she is naked. I mean, this is literally how I had to meet. I'm meeting an actor and I'm like, oh my God. And by the way, this is the least fun experience for a director. I know people out there, like, oh, that's badass.
No, it's got to be awkward for everybody. Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. For her, she was like, yeah, there it is. Okay, we done? Like, for her, it was nothing. For me, it was like mortifying, right? She gets on my set, and I'm sure a lot of people know the story by now, but there's that very kind of, it's a picture that everybody knows that's all over the place, of me carrying Julie Michaels, and she's in the towel, right? She's in the white towel. The reason for that is because Julie was doing a run through this area of woods that we had cleared for her, right? And she had to keep doing this run. And you photograph, you put the camera on sticks, and you just turn the camera as they run in a circle in woods. You have no idea that we're Hanna-Barberaing the footage. You have no idea she's running past the same trees over and over again. You don't know. So we're shooting that. And I said, great, Julie, we're good. We're gonna change the angle, and I want to get one more run at it. She goes, no problem, boss, I'm on it. And as she started to walk away from me, there was blood on the ground behind her, and I was like, Julie, did you hurt yourself, honey? What's going on? And she's like, oh no, I'm good, boss, I'm good. And I was like, Julie, and she kept walking, and I ran up behind her and I scooped her off her feet, and I picked her feet up. I said to Kane, I said, how are her feet? And he's like, oh, Julie, you're all cut up. And I walked her to medical. I literally carried her to medical. Okay. And she talks about this story. She told this story again in front of camera, and she started to cry. And she's like, it's the only time up until that moment that I felt safe on set, that someone actually cared about my well-being and actually was there to take care of me and make sure I was safe as an actor, not just as a stunt person, but as an actor. And I got to tell you, that story. And by the way, she was crying, and our entire team was sobbing. Everybody on behind the camera was crying. Peter Bracke was crying. We were like, what the hell? And she said, this movie, she said, you didn't know this, Adam, but this movie, it saved my life in our industry. Like, this is the only reason I'm still in. This was this movie. And this woman's won Emmys since then. That, when you hear that, and you go like, look, I made a popcorn movie. I made a Friday the 13th film. And suddenly you realize, wait. Even a little popcorn movie can be impactful to the people who see it and the people who are in the damn thing. Like, it's a life-changing thing. Stephen Culp was leaving the industry. He was going to go. Stephen Culp, who's had an unbelievable career since this movie, he was like, it's not working. I'm getting little parts. I'm doing little TV things. I should go do something else. He booked Jason Goes to Hell. He didn't even want to do it. He did not want to do the movie. He was like, oh, it's a Friday the 13th movie. What am I doing? It turned his whole life around. And he was in the middle of shooting that movie, and he went, this is the most fun I've ever had. This is my life. This is what I want to do with my life. And cut to, he's working with Kevin Costner in 13 Days playing Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
This is what happens for people. And it's those ideas, those stories where you go like, wow, this movie is more impactful. And here's the thing. Yes, this film did these things, but you also have to go, if you look at every movie, there are these stories. There are these moments that absolutely, turn someone's life around. So I'm not saying Jason Goes to Hell is unique in that way. I will say the one unique thing I think happened with Jason Goes to Hell is look, I any movie I direct or produce, I have to meet every single person before they're hired. So PAs interview with me. They don't interview with just the line producer or the UPM. They meet with me. And everybody reads the script. And I tell people flat out, I'm like, look, if you don't like the script, don't work on this movie. Like, if you don't like the movie we're making, don't do it. I don't want you to be involved because I want you to be happy to come to set every day. I want you to be proud of the work you're doing, right? Because I work that way, the people we worked with were the nicest people. I had such a lovely cast. I had such an amazing crew. Everybody was excited to come to work every day. Like, we really had a good time. When you create that environment, you have a better chance of everybody not just having a good time, but producing something they all want to stand behind. And that was the cool thing. Like, look, Kane was not thrilled when I handed him a script that he was not in half of. He wasn't thrilled about that. But Kane and I had a ball. Kane and I are still friends because we just had a great time. And Kane was my stunt coordinator for the whole film. And there's almost 100 stunts in the movie.
I mean, the diner scene alone has more stunts than most movies do.
I mean, how many Friday the 13th movies have a John Woo inspired, gunfight?
Yeah. The only thing missing were the doves.
But by the way, I wanted to put doves in, and Shawn wouldn't let me have them. I did want doves in the scene. I really did. That's not a joke.
That would have been perfect in the show. Everyone who was a John Woo fan would have gotten that.
Right? Yeah. By the way, just so you know, this is a true story. The night before my director's test for New Line, Bob Kurtzman took me to the first screening in North America of Hard Boiled at Orion Pictures. And I sat next to John Woo for the screening because Bob was doing Hard Target, which was going to be John's first movie in America.
Right.
That weekend, John Woo took me Laserdisc shopping.
Did you go to Dave's?
We did. Went to Dave's Laser.
Yep. Dave's?
And by the way, look, and this is what's extraordinary. The night of that screening, this is a true story. All of this is true. The night of that happened, I got stopped. I drove a Chrysler LeBaron convertible. Not trying to brag. And we got stopped, and there were all these cops. It was like this whole police incident. The person that they were chasing, there were 30 cop cars, helicopters, motorcycles, whole thing. I'm stopped, and suddenly this car comes over a ridge and starts coming right for my car, and I'm in the car. And it's a convertible. So, like, I get hit. I'm done.
Right.
It skids and hits a tree right next to me. I turn and look at the guy who's in the front seat. The guy has a crack pipe in his mouth. And he pulls up a gun. And I'm like, ah! And suddenly I feel someone grab the back of my head and shove me under my steering column. When I look to the side, there are 4 cops in my car standing there with guns at this thing. They pull me out of the car, throw me under a police van. This is all happening the night that I meet John Woo at this screening.
Wow.
They finally subdued the guy. They didn't have to shoot him. He was okay. They put me back in my car. I'm shaking. Now, again, I don't have a cell phone. I have a pager.
Right.
I have a pager, right? So there's nobody to call. I'm driving back home. By the way, so on the way to home is my UPM, Debbie Cass, who was the UPM on the movie. I drive to her house. As I get out, because I want to tell somebody what the fuck just happened. I'm like freaking out. I drive to her house. She swings her door open, runs out and goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I was like, wait a minute, you know what happened? She goes, "I've been watching it on the news." I just watched that happen.
Oh my God.
I shot my director's test the next morning.
Oh boy.
That was the night before my director's test for New Line. So John Woo, I literally lived a John Woo scene.
Yeah.
After watching Hard Boiled, and then went to go shoot. My director's test was the scene with the 2 guys by the car drawing the guns on each other.
Mm-hmm.
That whole scene, I rewrote that scene that night with Dean Laurie, and the whole gun interplay happened. And that happened because of everything that had happened the night before. And that's the scene that got me hired.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so everything, You owe that guy a thanks. The crack.
Hell yeah. The crack
should have tracked
addict
him
who
down
put
for
it
the
on me.
documentary.
I love that dude. That dude.
I'm gonna get him on the show. I'm sure he's doing well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he went on to do great things after that.
Oh, absolutely.
So what is the runtime of Hearts of Darkness?
It's 90 minutes, or no, 2 hours. No, it's an hour and 40 minutes.
It's an hour and it's 112 minutes. So it's 152.
Yeah,
with titles.
Yeah.
Oh yes, so, and end credits that are endless.
Yeah, we have to thank everybody. Yeah,
we have longer credits than Avengers Endgame.
We have more thank yous. We have more thank yous than they had carpenters on Toby Hooper's Life Force. Yeah. And when I say that, go watch Toby Hooper's Life Force.
It goes on for a while.
Credits. We're like, what the hell? Yeah.
I love Life Force. That's a vampire.
Well, that was back before they could do a lot of that stuff digitally, so they had to build all that.
They built everything.
Yeah. But no, it's even I was just like, God, he got a lot of people to do shit for this movie.
Wow. But by the way, the credits also have an original song that was written for the film that's amazing. Yeah. It also has music from our incredible composer on the picture. And look, the titles on this movie, a guy named Declan Boyle in Ireland, who was a fan of the project and a fan of mine, and he had actually contributed, much like Michael. We were halfway through production. Declan sends me a title sequence. And he's like, hey, if you want this, I just made this for you. And if you want it, you can use it. And it was a terrific title. I'm like, this is great. I showed it to Michael. I showed it to Eric. And I said, look, it's not the tone of our movie, but this guy's really good. Maybe I can get him to do a different title sequence. Like, who knows? So I reached out to him. I said, Deck, would you be interested? He says, absolutely. So he sends us a different title sequence. It's wrong again. Like, it's not the tone of the movie. And I was like, wait, stop. I said, stop making shit without, let's talk. I said, can we do a Zoom? So we did a Zoom, and I said, look, here's the tone of the piece, and here's what we're trying to do. And I said, I started in titles when I was in college. I worked for R. Greenberg Associates in Manhattan, which is the title house that did the flying titles in Superman. They did the Predator vision and won an Academy Award for that. They did Flash Gordon, The Untouchables. Like the titles were extraordinary, right? So that Goodfellas, which I worked on when I was there. So I knew titles. So I said, look, I'm going to send you a few title sequences that I think could inspire the tone that Michael wants to go for the movie. So I send him the title sequences. And the last one that I sent him was the title sequence for Catch Me If You Can, which is Saul Bass inspired title sequence. And it's all animated and it's incredible. Like, it's an amazing sequence, right? Yeah. And so Deck gets back on Zoom with me and he's like, hey, yeah, I want to do that Catch Me If You Can thing. And I was like, wait, no, Deck, that's a really expensive sequence. I'm not asking you to do all that work. He's like, no, that's what I want to do. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll see you in a few months. 10 days later, he delivers an animated title sequence for this movie that is so jaw-droppingly good. I mean, we were all like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it was one of those situations where it's like, oh, well, that we can't afford that. It's like, we just like, this is way better than it should. You do realize this is a Jason Goes to Hell documentary, right?
By the way,
yeah,
this guy. So at that point, I was like, Declan, do you do this for a living, man?
Yeah.
And he's like,
good, yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah. I mean, I mostly visual effects. I was like, what movies have you done? I said, can I see your reel? He goes, yeah, no, I'll send you my reel. He says, I mean, look, forgive me, most of it's going to be Evil Dead Rises. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
A ton of the effects in that movie that I swore were practical were not. They were this guy, Declan, who's literally doing his own thing in a house in Ireland where he's producing this stuff. I was like, by the way, this guy is now part of Skeleton Crew, part of our team. He's doing all the VFX for all of our stuff.
I love that story.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, when you find people like that, it's just like, and again, it was interesting when Adam was talking about, because it's like, independently, this guy had an expectation for what a documentary about Jason Goes to Hell would be like. Very horror, very dark.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to, I'm very interested to see how people are going to react to the documentary. If they're going in thinking, okay, here's a portentous, very horror centric. It's not like that at all. And I think the trailer definitely helps to sell that.
Yeah, the trailer is really fun. I like
Yeah, because it is. It's a fun,
Thank you.
It's a very fun documentary. It's something that you just get the sense, and this goes back to something Adam was talking about. I can't tell you how many times there are in the documentary. I'm sure there's a few on the cutting room floor as well. How many people who ended up working on this movie who would not have been inclined to work on a Friday the 13th movie said, yeah, I didn't really want to do this. It's not something that was really on my career path at this point. But then I met Adam and I went, oh, he's just too enthusiastic. I want to work with this guy. Like Bill Dill, the cinematographer, he's way too qualified for something like this.
Way too qualified.
Yeah. But he, again, was just like, I met with the kid. And I was like, and he turned down another big gig, the Jacksons miniseries.
The Jacksons miniseries on ABC.
Which was going on at the time, which would have been a much more sensible thing for him to have done. But he went, no, I like what this kid is. There's something, this could be fun. I could get to do some interesting stuff with this. So the subject matter ultimately doesn't really matter that much. And incidentally, Bill Dill got to come in with Adam and color time the new 4K. So this is officially the first time that the Jason Goes to Hell is 100% approved by the director and the DP.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I will tell you, it is the best look.
It looks great.
The movie has never looked this good. It's unbelievable how good it looks.
I don't know if this is a question for the show or if you should ask you off air, but Bill DeFrance, my friend who runs Gardena Cinema, we'd like to play Jason Goes to Hell on June 13th. Is the unrated available on DCP or should we play the Blu-ray?
I don't know.
Bill, I believe I've been talking with about this, in fact. We've actually been talking about showing this and the Hearts of Darkness back to back. And Bill, I don't have a DCP of it myself, but there might be one available. So you and I should talk further and make that happen. But he and I have been in conversation.
A lot of really cool screenings at Gardena Cinema. So
yeah. Oh, it's great. No, it's really
and you have to screen the unrated version.
No, I don't. We screened the R-rated version on 35, which was nice because that's you can't get the unrated on 35. So I did see it a couple of years ago. One of the screenings that we held that we shot for the documentary, but it broke my soul. Like watching that R-rated version, I'm like,
it's like watching your best friend get castrated.
Yes, this isn't my movie. I didn't make this. Like it's sort of like when Deb and I had to watch when we watched Texas Chainsaw for the first time, and we heard someone say, we heard the actor, poor Alexander Daddario, say, "Do your thing, cuz." And Deb and I both were like, no. I mean, it was
we're going to get blamed for this.
Truly. Seriously, like we were like in Clockwork Orange, like, I mean, it was nightmarish. So yeah, I don't like watching the R-rated version of this movie. I don't even understand why it ever ends up on anything. Like I'm like that Blu-ray that Screen Factory put out, which was terrific. And now this one is so extraordinary, but everybody keeps putting the R-rated version on there. I'm like,
it's like who's watching this? Why would they watch?
Yeah, anyone who wants to watch it, I assume, doesn't want to watch the R-rated.
The only thing I can assume is that someone somewhere out there is just like, all right, I want to watch Jason Goes to Hell, but I definitely don't want to have any fun.
Right.
How do I do that? Oh, right. The R-rated cut.
I want to relive the experience of being in the theater in '93 and being
horribly disappointed.
Yeah, that's what I want to
cut out. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
By the way, that the unrated cut was so little seen that that Michelle Clooney had never seen her actual death in the movie.
Oh wow,
she'd never seen it.
Crazy.
And we showed it to her while she was being interviewed for the doc. It's in the doc, her literally watching on a phone, watching her death.
She was blown away by it. Yeah.
And she's
awesome.
so adorable because she's looking at the screen and she goes, the first thing she goes, "Oh my God, my tits were amazing." I'm like, Michelle, I just love you to pieces. And then she saw her death and was like, "Oh no, oh my God." I mean, it was incredible. Like, she'd never seen the thing, and she is, look, even people who hate Jason Goes to Hell, even the haters.
That kill scene is just amazing.
It's always either number 1 or number 2 on every list. That and the sleeping bag death. Those are the two that go back and forth constantly. And it's amazing that one of the actors who was actually the girl who was split up the middle had never seen that effect.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because again, there's none of it in the R-rated cut. You don't see shit.
No.
You know, it's just.
And by the way, Bob Kurtzman, when that happened, Bob and Howard, Howard Berger and Bob Kurtzman, they offered to turn the 2 split bodies, because there was 2, one where the spike came out and the one where it split, right? So they had these 2 bodies. They wanted to turn those into stereo speakers for my apartment in Venice. And I was like, I looked at the 2 of them, I was like, are you out of your minds? I will never get laid again. Are you crazy?
Oh yeah, you open the door and say, "Come into my abode." They see 2 split women's speakers there.
I was like, what? It's the opening of Clockwork Orange with gore. Like, no, I'm not doing. This isn't the Corova milk bar. What are we doing?
Does that mean the nipples would be the volume and the bass control?
100. That's exactly what they wanted to do.
Oh man.
I was like, are you crazy? No, I don't want those in my house.
Every makeup effects guy that came of age and was working in the 80s and 90s is an out of control rock and roll kid fanboy.
Yeah,
that's all. I mean, all the footage I have of all these guys just clowning around behind the scenes on some of these movies. If I showed it to them, not only would they be canceled, they'd be sent off the planet, because some of their stuff is so not PC at all. But it's just like, this is like me and my friends in high school.
Yeah.
This is the type of shit we were doing.
And when you look at K&B at that time in the early 90s, Greg Nicotero brilliantly told the guys, hey, we're all growing our hair out long.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to look like a hairband.
Oh, they had mullets, the whole fucking thing.
I mean long.
Greg had his hair all the way down to his waist and everything.
And again, it worked. I mean, Greg is the marketing genius of all time when it comes to He's the guy. And he really figured out how to make those guys incredibly successful, because
they were rock stars of the makeup world. They really were.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, that's what he did. It's brilliant.
But boy, you go back and look at a lot of it's like mullet.
So many mullets. So many mullets.
Yeah, it's like, oh, feather hair and mullet. Nice touch. Yeah. It was just like, wow.
I never had the mullet, but I did have the feathered hair.
I never had the hair for any of that. I lost my hair. I have video footage of me when I was 19, and I had a full head of hair, and I had styled it in such a way that it looked like the world's worst toupee. And I think that's when God went, well, if that's what you're going to do with it, fuck you. You're getting. And then I get stuck with this shit. You know, this is how it's been for the last 30 years. And so I was just like, thanks a lot.
Todd Quality Yeager does reviews for our website. Secret Santa is on my list of all-time favorite films. Thank you.
Yeah,
that is a great movie.
Thank you, dude. Thank you. That you made my day.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen Secret Santa, it's basically every shitty Christmas you've ever had with your family, where everyone is sick and tired of each other's bullshit, and you can't really enjoy yourself, but you're forced together anyway. And then shit just goes horribly wrong from there. And it's so witty and funny. And then the really gruesome shit happens. So I was already enjoying the movie so much that when the bad shit started happening, I was like, oh, that's right. It's a horror movie, but it's actually kind of it's a black comedy.
It is a black comedy.
And it's Adam does more with the few bucks he had to make that movie than most people have been able to do with $100 million. So I can't recommend, and I'm not just saying that because he's here, because he gave me a copy of the movie, and I'm like, oh God, I really hope I like this, because if I have to bullshit and go, because he'll know I'm bullshitting. I was like, so did you watch it, Michael? It was a movie. That was
Yeah, and you made it. You made that whole movie.
That movie, and there were people in it, and there were credits and everything. That was something. No, I was like, oh, thank God, this is good. Not only is it, it's really good.
Michael actually punked me when he saw the movie because I'd sent him a Blu-ray of it, right? I sent him a copy, and I was like, hey, man, take a look at it. And he said to me, look, if I hate it, I'm never going to talk about it with you. It's just never going to come up. I said, fair enough.
Yeah.
Great. Fair. I get it. And a couple weeks later, he texts me at 10 o'clock at night in my time. So it's 1 a.m. where he is.
Right.
And he's like, hey, Adam, we need to talk. And I was like, oh, well, I'm actually dealing with something. Can I get back to you later? He's like, no, this is really important. You need to call me back right now. and we're in the middle of post or just about to go into post in the movie. And I was like, oh no, what is happening? And it was this whole like dire, terrible thing. And he says, can you get me on Zoom, please?
Yeah. I've done this to him a couple of times, actually.
Right. And I was like, okay, send me a Zoom link. And I said to Deb, Deb and I are with our neighbors. I was like, I got to go back. I don't know. Something's wrong. I'm very nervous. So I Zoom with Michael and he's there kind of. And I was like, dude, what's going on? He's like, listen, so I just saw Secret Santa and I was like, yeah. And he's like, and I fucking loved it. I was like, you son of a bitch. God damn it. And he does this to me all the time. The fact that I still haven't learned my lesson is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football.
Yes, 100%. And I keep, every time. But no, look, thank you. And hey, I only hope that more and more people will discover that movie because it is the movie that is closest to my heart because I made the thing for nothing. I made it out of love and I made it with some incredibly talented people, including my amazing wife.
If you've ever seen the movie The Ref, it's The Ref with murders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. He's 100% right.
That's a great combination.
Yeah, it's right on the money. Yeah.
So I think they're thinking of Heart of Darkness, but Adrian Esposito, is there going to be a copyright name issue with the documentary since there's already a documentary out there called Hearts of Darkness?
There isn't. And by the way, again, on the whole, we're making a real movie, not a fan movie. Or we're not making a fly-by-night documentary. We're making a real documentary. When you make a movie, and this is for anybody out there who wants to be a filmmaker or is a filmmaker, you do a title check, and this costs you lots of money, but you do it so that you never have a copyright problem. And so the title, which includes Hearts of Darkness and the making of The Final Friday, we own all of it. It completely passed. It's cleared. Nobody can sue us for it. And by the way, for those of you who are like, well, why is it the same name as the Apocalypse Now documentary? By the way, the Apocalypse Now documentary, one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. And I actually think it's a better movie than Apocalypse Now. And I think it's closer to the original source material than Apocalypse Now. The reason this movie is called Hearts of Darkness is that was the original title of Jason Goes to Hell. So it was Friday the 13th, Part 9, The Heart of Darkness. That was the name of it. Now, I was a film student when I first got this job. And being an NYU film student, I was one of the most pretentious people on planet Earth. And so I was the same age when I was prepping and making this movie that Orson Welles was when he was going to make his first film, which was an adaptation of the movie Hearts of the book Heart of Darkness. So I went, well, I'm the same age as my filmmaking hero, and I'm making a movie about a guy who eats a heart and becomes Jason. I'm going to call it the same thing that Welles was going to call his movie at 23. So that's literally the origin of it. So when people get their panties in a twist over the title, I'm like, no, it has significance. We're not stealing it from the Coppola thing. We're actually taking it from the Joseph Campbell novel that inspired Orson Welles and in turn inspired me. So that's why it's called that.
I like that. I don't know if I think you may have seen it because I shared it in our group, and there was a couple people who were, in my opinion, very much overreacted to the name of the movie.
And
you know, that's an odd hill to die on. I think.
I agree,
you know,
I
it's just kinda...
Again, it goes under the tagline of like, do you need a hug? Because I'll hug you. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, let's hug it. Let's hug it out. But by the way, I gotta say thank you to the person who actually asked that question, because that person's looking out. Like I'm cool if somebody's looking out for us. That's awesome.
Yeah, Adrian is a filmmaker out of Buffalo.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. Like that's and that's a very cool thing. Like that's I respect that, and I also know that the person knows their stuff if they're asking me about copyright issues. So that's great. But look, this movie, part of the reason it took so long, we had to pass so many legal standards to make sure this film couldn't be stopped at the gates.
Yeah.
So nobody can come at us. Like anyone wants to send us a cease and desist letter, enjoy. You're not gonna cease and desist us. You can't do it. Sorry, because we've done everything we need to legally.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're dealing with a franchise, anything that's got a TM after it, you got to be careful, because anybody can. Like when I was working with the artist to do the poster, that got there, you know, say I want a hockey match.
Great, by the way.
Oh well, thank you, and props to Mark Schoenbach who put it together.
Who is brilliant, really brilliant.
And I said, you know, I want the hockey mask in the background, but it's got to be a generic hockey. It can't have. I don't even want the little arrows and the shit on there, just because you can't argue with a generic hockey mask. If you make it too much like Jason, someone could bitch. So it's just like no. It's just going to be a generic hockey mask back in there because we're pro hockey. That's I don't guess.
We love hockey. I love hockey. But by the way, the person who did the legal on this movie is Larry Zerner.
Oh, that's a great connection.
Yeah,
so right. And he's in the doc. Like we shot him for the doc. So I mean, Larry also did the legal for Crystal Lake Memories and for His Name Was Jason. So Larry knows this stuff. Like if anybody knows it, it's Larry. So no, we're in great legal hands. But again, you know, we did not want anybody to look. First off, we don't want to fuck anybody over or break any laws or steal from anybody.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, it's very funny. We use clips from the movie in the movie, but we do a lot more of animatics of like images, like still frames from the film that then come alive, kind of like the kid stays in the picture, like that kind of animation. And we did that so that we wouldn't have a problem, because if you use a frame, it's 1/24th of 1 second of a 93 minute long film. You're covered. Like that doesn't even fall under fair use. It's nothing, right? We gave it to Larry, and Larry's like, you know, you can put more clips from the movie in here. You're good. Like you guys have used almost none of the movie. Like why don't you show the girl getting split up the middle? Like just show it, because you can do that. So
because you have to like just you can if you're describing it, you can show it as long as it's illustrative.
Yeah.
There's rules to fair use, and you can only use it for like 2 or 3 seconds, and then that's it. And there's a certain quantity you're allowed to use. But if you do screen grabs, they only count as of 1 frame. So it's a whole thing.
It's a lot of math, but the math is good, and we are so under the limit of what we're allowed to use.
Way under the limit.
Way under the limit.
Yeah.
So
and I'm happy. Larry's one of the first guests I had on the show. The first year we did the show, him and Betsy Palmer, I think, were on the same show. And then I found out years later he is a huge horror fan, because I met him in Burbank when it was a horror trivia night, and I guess he's a regular.
Oh yeah, I know that trivia night. Dead Right. Yeah. The Dead Right trivia night. Yeah. Or the one.
Yeah. When I was making End Zone 2, which is a movie that Adam's connected to, was I went to that, and I thought I knew a lot about horror movies till I went to that, and I was like, I don't.
They don't fuck around there. They don't. I've been there a couple times, and it's just like, I better just shut the fuck up.
It was like the kill count of RoboCop 2, and it was like 117 or something. I was like, who the hell would just know that? But
it's like,
because it wasn't like 10 or something or 8. Like I could see maybe knowing that.
What type of wood was used to construct the original cabin in the Evil Dead? Fucking
right. Yes.
There's always some guy going, "Oh, actually, it was a pine."
There was an argument actually when I was there, because it was over. It was like how many? how many different actors played one of the characters in Terminator, and then they argued because it's not said that it's the character in the first Terminator. It's just like it's like implied that it's him, and so they
Wow.
actually were getting very heated.
Oh yeah, they get very.
It wasn't a friendly argument. They were very
Well,
mad.
he's not officially credited as that
Exactly.
character, so therefore I can't.
The name of Bela Lugosi's hairdresser. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Billy Coyne, effects artist. I know out of Boston.
Billy.
Yeah, Billy's a great guy. Not sure if you went over this yet, but is there a street date for the physical copy of the documentary?
There is not as of yet. We are going to be announcing it soon, and also announcing, what company is putting the disc out and all of that stuff, and the unbelievable amount of special features and extras that are on the disc. The extras are longer than the movie itself.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, that's
There's
when
a ton
you
of
end
stuff.
up with 90 hours of footage, 80 of which is Adam's interview. It's just
Jackass.
Is there
No,
going to be
it's-
an extended cut of the 80-hour Adam Marcus interview?
I'm telling you, seriously.
It's the longest interview I've ever seen anyone give.
But by the way, I never go over the same information.
No, that was
twice.
the amazing thing. It's just like you're watching it going, he really has a lot to say. And then at some point, I'm just like about like hour 5, I'm like, God, is someone gonna shut this motherfucker up because we're gonna run out of fucking hard drive space.
There's a great clip of Howard Berger when we shot his interview over at KMB, and at one point he just goes, God, who knew there was all this drama around Jason Goes to Hell?
Yeah.
so true.
Oh, I like this one question. How many questions was Adam asked in the interview? 1, and then he just started talking for 8 hours.
Actually, it's funny. Peter only had 1 extra page more of questions than he had for anybody else.
Right, but then
That's how long it went.
Yeah, because of course you just
It's
and it's just. But I love it. I love it when you get interviews that when people are really ready and prepared, you have your list of stuff, and then I'll like Bruce Campbell is like this. I'll ask him one question, and then 15 minutes later he'll stop talking. I go, he answered that.
Yep.
Oh, and 3 things I didn't even think of. Oh, and that. So it's just like.
But Peter and I are such good friends that what was amazing was he anticipated that I would do that.
Oh yeah.
So his questions were actually. I mean, look, and Peter's one of the best interviewers I've ever encountered in my life about anything. And so he was always ahead of that and asked me questions that no one had asked me before. So I was like, Peter, well done. He also knows me way too well, so he knew what buttons to push to get. I'm a dancing monkey, and that's what I.
Yeah, and then of course he's like, "All right, Adam, let's begin." 15 hours later. Is there anything we haven't covered yet? Please tell me there isn't.
Oh, it's so true, dude. It's so stupidly true.
If you were to fast forward that interview, like from beginning to end, like at super high speed, you can see the sun rise and set in the background. The lighting just subtly changes.
Yep.
Throughout the whole thing, and it's just like, damn.
We did it over 2 days.
Yeah, because it's like it rises and it sets and then it rises. So it's like, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's something. But that's a situation where it's like it's an embarrassment of riches, which is also kind of why I didn't envy being the editor on this, because it's like, what do you cut? It's all really interesting. You could have done a Netflix limited series with some of this stuff.
Well, and by the way, look, that is, and Michael had the opportunity to do whatever he wanted with this, because I wanted him to tell the story the way he wanted to tell it. What I love about Michael and Eric was that they both were like committed to, no, we can have all the extra shit we want on the disc. That's fine. But we are making a feature film and that's it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the docs about the franchise are these insanely long 5.5 hour things. But even Crystal Lake Memories, like there's 18 minutes, I think, about Jason Goes to Hell on that thing, because they cover the whole franchise.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with the length of anything as long as it sustains the length.
That's what she said.
Look, Never Sleep Again is like 5-6 hours long, but that covers not just the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but the rise and fall of New Line, and there's a lot going on. That's
really good.
I started watching that at like 11 o'clock at night, and I thought I'd watch the first part of it. By the time it was done, it was like 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh shit,
it's that good. It's that good.
But then I have, look, and I'm not going to name any names, but there have been some film documentaries where it's like they're 5 hours to cover one movie, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but a lot of the small stories is like, this is minutia at the end of the day. And so it was important for me on the documentaries, like, okay, we got to stay. It's like being on a highway. You can take rest stops, you can take scenic routes, but at some point you got to get back on the main road.
Yes.
And there's only so many diversions you could take before you start saying this is taking a little too long.
Yeah.
And so you save that stuff, and then they saved a lot of great stuff. But I think you'll watch the extra features and go, yeah, this was the way to watch this material. This was definitely the way to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And look, the other thing, we also had an incredible thing fall into our laps because, back when we shot this movie, they weren't doing EPKs the way they were only years after it. Like that wasn't a thing. And so we didn't have any behind the scenes footage of the movie. Like we had photographs, but no behind the scenes footage. And I'm telling this to Bob Kurtz when he went, oh, yeah, we do. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, we do. He said, I don't know. We got like 8 hours of footage. I was like, from my movie? He's like, yeah, we were rolling video that whole film. I'm like, no. And he said, yeah, I'll send it to you. Hold on. And he sends us 8 hours of footage and literally was like, dude, you can have it. Give me $1. Done. And
there's footage of Adam on the set directing and everything. I mean, it's just awesome. Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah. And that stuff is gold. You can't, there's no accounting for that. And as it turns out, Robert and Bob had gotten someone to archive and digitize all his VHS stuff and put it on hard drives. That was me. So I was able to send him, oh, you need the Jason Goes to Hell stuff? Boop. There you go. Yep. There it is right there.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It just worked out. And it's the first time any of this stuff got used. So that's what's extraordinary. Like we have footage that nobody has seen.
On all the makeup effect, like all the stuff. It's amazing stuff. I mean, it's just great to see people having fun, and they're in the makeup chair, and Adam's on the set. And you can just see how enthusiastic Adam is. And when you see him in motion on the set, and you just watch him, and he's like, man, he really looks like he's 16 years old.
It's true.
How did anyone take this guy seriously? I'm fucking amazing. This is amazing. Because he shaved his beard before he did the show, and when he has the beard, he definitely looks like someone in his 20s, maybe. But when he took the beard off, it's like, oh, little director, isn't he cute?
It was ridiculous.
It's just like, ridiculous. Oh man, they're gonna walk all over you, but no, they didn't.
I would think if it was not that long before that, they wouldn't have filmed all that stuff.
Makeup effects guys were sort of the only ones who did that shit back then, especially for horror, because for horror movies, they want to document their work. So in case they have to try to do something like that again, how do we do that? Well, here's the foot. So Tom Savini was one of the first people to really do that on every single thing he did. That's the great thing about when I get to do documentaries or featurettes about horror movies is like I go to the makeup effects guys. What do you have? Well, here's the 6 tapes and the 1,500 photos I took, and enjoy. It's like, and it's just like, oh my God, there was a documentary crew. We just didn't know it, So it's amazing the stuff that you'll find. It's like, yeah, we heard about this incident where the thing blew up and someone almost got killed. Oh yeah, I have it. Here you go. I was like, there you go.
Brody, do we get to see Adam and Shawn behind the scenes?
Yes, you do. Yep. Cool. Yeah, we're together in a bunch of those shots. Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of behind the scenes photos too. We got a lot of everyone. It seems like a lot of people had photos from this. So it's just like if the video footage isn't there, there's a photo of it somewhere.
You'll really get to see. There's one moment where Shawn is somehow trying to intimidate me or be nasty to me, and I kind of shrug him off, and he turns rolling his eyes as he walks away from me. And it's perfect. I'm like, it's my favorite shot in the whole film. Just go, that's a microcosm right there. There it is. That's it.
Just, you don't need the stories, just play this shot out.
There it is.
That'll tell you everything.
Plays perfectly.
I have to bring this up because Craig brought this up a couple times. Craig Liberate.
Craig, by the way, Craig Lebret, who I was going to bring up, Craig Lebret, one of my oldest friends from childhood. He's amazing, and in fact, he was trying to call me when this happened. So I was like, "I'll call you after the podcast." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to watch." So Craig is an amazing dude. So yes, please.
Yeah, so he brought this up earlier too. He wanted to ask about your first starring role,
King Kong Hot Dog.
Oh, Craig. Craig and I were in summer camp together when we were 9, and it's the first play I ever wrote was King Kong Hot Dog. Craig played Pete Porkchop, and it was a superhero food thing. So yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not. So when are we going to see the film version of this?
I'm telling you, I was like the Weird Al of the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
so, yeah. Thanks, Craig. Harry Hamburger.
Thing is, I can see someone putting up $100 million to do that.
It's so true.
You know.
Seth Rogen would make the animated version of it. Yeah.
Coming soon, King Kong Hot Dog.
Craig, I love you, dude. That's amazing.
It really cuts the mustard.
It writes itself.
The movie writes itself.
Rush to the theater, or otherwise you won't catch up.
With that premise, you put that into AI, and AI just explodes.
Yeah,
that's how you end AI. Right, King Kong Hot Dog. So much for Skynet, that'll be the end.
So, since you brought it up earlier, I do want to know what are your thoughts on fan films?
I actually love fan films, and I will say, look, I don't know whether it's because the rights issues were so fucked up for so long and all of that, but I actually think it's the greatest training ground for young filmmakers. Like, take this IP and come up with your own version of it. I'm never a fan of, I don't like that Paramount shuts down people trying to do Star Trek stuff. Like, I think that's really kind of a shame. George Lucas, who we were
he was really good about it.
He was the best. He would send people props and stormtrooper costumes. He would send people shit. And the rule was
don't make money on
it. Like, you make this to become a filmmaker. George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, all those guys, they really put their money where their mouth is when it came to wanting to support young people telling stories through film.
Well, Stephen King had the Dollar Baby program.
Absolutely.
He still does those, I think. Because I see him every once in a while at festivals.
Vanessa Wright. I don't know if you know Vanessa. Yeah, but Vanessa, is one of the Dollar Baby filmmakers, and her conversation with me about we've been friends for years, but we talked about her experience with King and how that all went, and she's done 2. I think she's the only filmmaker who got 2 of his stories, and it's really I think that anybody who has the good fortune to make IP that is as successful as the stuff that we're talking about, I think that's your moment to really put your money where your mouth is when you talk about supporting other artists. So for me, I love people who make fan films. Here's what I don't love. One, I don't love when I find out people make money off this stuff. That's not cool. It's not cool. And honestly, it's illegal. So anyone who makes money from this stuff, be careful, man, because now Shawn Cunningham and Victor Miller own the rights, and Victor's a sweetie. But I know who Shawn is, and Shawn likes money. And so if you took $1 from Shawn, he's going to come get that $1.
And then you ruin it for everybody else,
Right.
Right.
The other thing is, fan films should not become careers.
Yeah.
Make a fan film, and I've even talked with some of the guys who've made the Friday films. And I love. Look, Vin DeSanti is in Hearts of Darkness. He's in the movie. So I have a lot of friends that have made these fan films that have become friends after they made the film or during it and wanting to talk to me about it. Stuff. And I've always been open to talking to people about their fan films. When people ask me to be in them or do stuff, then it gets a little shaky because I'm like, but I have I'm a voice actor. I do a radio announcer in one of Vin's movies. So I'll do that. But I tell every fan filmmaker, I'm like, look, make your movie and then go make your own movie.
Right.
Like, tell a fan story, but let that be a jumping off place for you to
like,
tell.
this is what I can do.
It's a business. It's a business card. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a short film the same way that if you go to film school,
Mm-hmm.
you know, here's your short film. Great. So I always warn young filmmakers, like, look, make one fan movie, maybe two, and then go make your own stories. Let it open up for you, you know?
Yeah. Because then you could create something. You might make the next Jason or whoever.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then you own it. You know?
But I do support it. I do support people making fan films. I think it's
I like
great.
that.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of young filmmakers now who are doing direct sequels to Jason Goes to Hell, and a few of them that are doing it. And I just go, yeah, like I want to see what you do. Bring it on, man. That's awesome. Yeah. You know, make the movie I wish I got to make. I'd love that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's super cool. No, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
And you mentioned Victor Miller. I'm friends with Victor, great guy.
Awesome.
He's also in Once in Feature Smash along with Adam, and he was probably the biggest surprise when I asked him to be in it and said yes. So I was very happy with him.
No, Victor's great, and it's funny because of the battle between him and Shawn. A lot of people expected Victor to be like Shawn. He is not like Shawn.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. He's a different kind of cat.
Yeah,
just good dude. Just a really good dude.
Mm-hmm. Very funny, super dry sense of humor. He's just a really cool guy. Yeah.
Well, he's a good writer. That's how that happens. You know, like it's just true. And look, you know, and I understand there are camps on all this stuff, and people find who they want to support, and that's great. But you know, I've been Victor. Like, I know what it is to be Victor Mill. Like, I got it. And I will tell you, for anybody who has been the little guy working with the person who has the rights and has the money and is the power person, that's a very frustrating, scary place to be. I got to tell you, it took some big fucking balls for Victor to do what he did. And I give him all the props in the world because he's a badass. He's a badass.
Yeah.
And represents a lot of us. Yeah.
Will we ever see the Kraton Duke movie?
Oh, I wish.
Oh, I am working tirelessly on the Kraton Duke movie.
Oh,
so
sweet. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. There's again, I may never get to use the name, but doesn't mean Stephen Williams and I don't want to make a movie together, and doesn't mean that we won't make a movie about a guy in a black duster who deals with things from the other side.
And who's to say he always went under the name Kraton Duke anyway?
Absolutely. And in the script that I've written, I have actually made him related to Scatman Crothers' character in The Shining.
I love this. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're that movie is something that I plan to make. So I love that film, and I love Steven. Steven is.
I talked about this with the interview I did for the Blu-ray. If you think about it, Agent Marcus defeated Jason Voorhees.
Yep, she sure did.
She should go out there and fight off all the other fucking horror bad guys that are out there.
I don't disagree. And by the way, you know who could be her sidekick? Officer Bish, who is the only person in the entire
who ran
away saying fuck and got away.
Yeah, I would recast him though, because I don't think the guy that you got for that was very good.
Son of a bitch.
He was. He looked like he was 16. I mean, it was just like.
Well, he's probably
this guy couldn't even been to the police academy yet.
By the way, there is a piece of footage that exists. I know it's in the Warner archives. There's a piece of footage of on the day that we shot John LeMay and Carrie Keegan walking into the sunrise with the baby at the last shot of the movie just before the mask grab. I had the costumer bring Officer Bish costume to that day. And I got into it with nobody knowing I was doing this. And one of the takes of them doing that, I come running over the hill in my police costume, running out of town, screaming. I just keep screaming, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, as I'm running past. Yeah. Shawn was not amused. Not amused. but everybody else was.
That would have been a great way to have that movie. Just feels like, wow, the smartest guy in the franchise.
The one guy who knew, run.
It's like, run, just
Get
run.
the fuck out of here.
There's no good ending to this where I stick around. I just, it's just,
Yep.
It's a very smart person here. I love the once in future smash. I agree with that. That's
Old
a good
Damn
sentiment.
Enchilada podcast is awesome.
Oh, and I would just like to say I remember cracking up in the theater, but it was only after I saw it again later on. I just love the fact in the diner sequence, there's just this poor guy sitting in a booth minding his own fucking business who gets blown the fuck away.
Yep.
When she goes through the shock. It's like, damn, this poor guy is just trying to eat his burger.
It's true.
And he's just
That guy was one of Kane's buddies, who's a stunt guy. And Kane was like, I told him like I wanted a gag where the bullets went through Robert into somebody behind him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I got just the guy. And cut to that guy's just sitting in the booth. By the way, the girl when that sequence starts, there's a waitress who you only seen in that scene.
Yeah.
A waitress who's at the door and she screams,
and she just gets pushed. She gets pushed out of the movie
and just falls, and that's it.
Yeah,
that girl was my brother Kip's girlfriend, Eve Hartman, and she needed her SAG card.
Oh,
so I said, I think if you scream, that's considered a line.
Yeah,
she got her SAG card. How we did that? Yeah,
because I always joke, hey, she just fell out of the movie.
That's it.
We never see her again. She just just disappeared.
She's running with Officer Bish. Right out of town.
Yeah.
So say Kane Hodder, like I know everyone loves Kane Hodder, and I do too. But something that I always remember, he's been on the show many times. I met him many times, and it wasn't so much that when someone else plays Jason in the next movie. It wasn't so much that he's going to be out of paycheck or whatever. He said he was he didn't want someone playing the character who didn't like the character, who didn't want to be the character.
Mm-hmm.
And that always stuck with me because I was like, Jason really means a lot to him.
Yeah.
Not just
very much.
Just helps his career and all that stuff.
Well, he took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And you can tell that. I remember seeing Friday 7 when it first came out. And you could just tell the way he breathed, the way he moved, the ferocity that he had. You could tell when he was pissed. You could tell. I mean, even under all that makeup, there was a point where she shuts the door on him and moves a table, and he just goes down there, throws that table aside, rips those fucking doors open, and you're like, "Oh, Jason's upset." And I just remember the physicality that he brought to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very happy to see, because I liked a lot of the other Jasons.
Yeah.
But it was just like, so when they brought him back for part 8, I was like, oh, that's good.
By the way, I mean, look, he's also, I think that when they finally landed on Kane, and Kane, look, let's be honest, Kane is in some of the most divisive Friday entries.
Yeah, but it's interesting because he's probably the Jason that most people like the best, but also in the ones that aren't necessarily their favorite movie.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, although that brings up an interesting point, because if you really get down to it and you take the Friday the 13th series as a whole, maybe 2, maybe 3 of the films are largely loved by the fan base. The original, because it's the original, the final chapter, and part 6, Jason Lives. That's it. Those are about the only 3. Maybe part 2. Maybe
two is one of my favorites.
Yeah, two gets one of my favorite.
But
that's always my favorite.
But that's it. All the other ones, it's a 50-50 split at best.
Yeah.
So it's always the idea that there's always been every Friday the 13th film has been loved up until Jason Goes to Hell came out. I was like, no fucking wasn't.
Look, the other thing is, you know what I love about Jason Goes to Hell, and what I've always said about the haters, what I love about the haters on the movie, and this, I even said this in the opening of my intro to the Blu-ray that came out a couple of years ago. This movie has never left the conversation.
No, it hasn't.
There are other episodes of Friday the 13th that no one talks about. They just don't talk about it. They always talk about Jason Goes to Hell. And a big part of that is because there are people who are so angry about the movie And there are people who this was their first Friday. This was the first movie they saw, and it's their Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this like legion of people who love this movie and don't understand why the first movie is so fucking boring.
Yeah, it's weird because
that's the headspace they're in.
It is true because when Jason Goes to Hell, it was kind of not ever intended to be such, but it was kind of a reboot in a way because it was divorced from the Friday the 13th films that Paramount had done. It had been 4 years since the other one had come out. Mm-hmm. And again, it's sort of a self-contained story. Mm-hmm. You don't really need to have seen any of the other previous movies. You just need to know that Jason Voorhees is a killer that's unstoppable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Out there. And so you can kind of watch it by itself without having...
And at that point, you'd have to know that.
Yeah, you'd have to have general knowledge of who that is. Yeah,
right. And by the way, again, it's so funny. It's the Jason-less Friday the 13th, but the original movie, I'm a huge fan of the original movie because I did grow up with it. Boy, did I grow up with it. But I will tell you, Friday 2 is better.
Oh yeah, I like a lot of
way better movie.
The original is not even in my top 5 Friday the 13th. Series favorites, and I'm not knocking it for that. No. Thank God for, but it is weird. And you wanted to go back to something you were mentioning about Kane, being worried about people playing. When you watch Jason Goes to Hell, whether they knew it or not at the time, Richard Gant, Stephen Culp, all these guys, they look like they're having a good deal of fun beating and slaughtering the shit out of people.
Oh yeah.
Richard Gant, when he goes in for that heart, it's like, this is not an actor going just for the pay. It's like, he went full force for that shit. And we have great takes of him when he's got lying back on all the things that are supposed to be
flash bulbs under it. Yeah.
And he's choking on the bile and everything. It's like, Gant went for it. He fully went for it.
It's a Shakespearean performance.
Oh, it is. And Stephen Culp, same thing.
Absolutely.
He's fully committed to this. So it's like, I can understand Kane wanting to protect the role, but he didn't have anything to worry about with that cast.
Well, it's also really interesting. What's really interesting is Gant and Andy Block really wanted to know what Kane did. Like they wanted to know how he moved, all stuff. When Kane tried to get Stephen Culp in Jason School, it did not go well. And it's funny because Kane was pissed. Like, boy, was he pissed. But Kane talked to me about it, and I was like, okay, I got your back. And so as I'm directing Steven, I would have him do that. I'm like, oh, no, that's good. But can you just turn a little sharper there? Because I just think it's scary. So I kept trying to move him into the Kane space.
Yeah.
Even though Steve was like, I want to do my own thing with it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, listen, you're supposed to move like that guy.
Right.
So we're going to make you move like that guy, whether you want to or not.
And it does work. It
totally works. He and Culp is great as Jason. He really does jump into it. But here, you know what the thing about Kane about that is, and it really is heartbreaking. Robert Englund gets so much love for Freddy as he deserves, 100%. Mm-hmm. When they tried to put Jackie Earle Haley in that role, it didn't work. It didn't work. And also, you're talking about a great actor. Jackie Earle Haley is
he's a fantastic actor. Yeah, well, a lot of the things didn't work about that movie, but
right. But almost all of it landed on Jackie Earle Haley's shoulders because you go, wait a minute, that's not Freddy. We got Freddy. We have a Freddy. The guy's still alive.
Yeah,
that's not Freddy. What is distressing to Kane, and I agree with him, is that just because there's more makeup on the actor doesn't mean that actor isn't the character.
Mm-hmm.
And again, because he's a fan favorite as well, you go, why would you disrespect this man who has really, he keeps bringing the goods. If Kane wasn't good at it, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But Kane's a beast.
And I think it's easy for some people to dismiss it because they think, oh, it's just a big guy in a mask.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's no dialogue. He's not acting. He's just goes like, okay, fine. You want to take that attitude. But I actually have done a couple of plays way back when I was a kid, and I did a couple of shorts, and there was a couple times where I had to get into a big bulky costume and I had to have something covering my head. And that was when I realized, even back then, it's like, oh, no. You have to exaggerate your movements in a certain way.
Yeah.
You have to turn your head. you're acting with blinders on. You're acting underneath a big blanket, essentially.
Yep.
So there is artistry that comes into that. Okay, he's not the most verbose guy in the world. No one's going to mistake Jason Voorhees for Hamlet. But at the same time,
I kind of want to make that movie suddenly.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand the dismissiveness that comes along with that.
Right.
Gunnar Hansen told me about that too.
Yeah.
Like when he was being considered to do a Leatherface in part 2.
Mhm.
I'll pay him scales. We can get anybody to wear the mask. It's like, well, fuck you then. It's just.
And by the way, the only people who say shit like that are people who don't know what horror movies are and don't respect the genre.
Right.
Because a real horror aficionado, any
Would
director
never
worth
say
their
that.
weight,
Would
would
never.
never. We never discussed another actor for Jason. Like there was never even a talk of it. It's like,
why
no,
would you?
it's
Yeah,
Kane.
yeah, you got Kane. It's just
I don't want to make a movie without Kane. And by the way, I was not a huge fan of Part 8.
Well, no one was, but still, it's just.
But I still went. But that's Jason.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, he
that's
was
the guy.
Yeah, I always joke about that one. It's like, yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, the Muppets took it better.
That's amazing.
But
I never
everything
heard
you
say
remember
that.
about
It's
that
awesome.
movie, everything that does stand out about
Is
Jason
Kane.
Statham is Kane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kane,
Even just the
100%.
image of him,
Oh, yeah.
in New York. It's
Yeah,
and if it
I
was
mean,
someone else, it wouldn't.
I always found it ironic though that in Jason Takes Manhattan, in the diner scene in that, he kills a future Jason. The guy he throws
Oh yeah.
against the mirror, that's
Yep.
Ken Kersinger.
That's Ken. That's Ken.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yes.
even know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was like almost he knew. It's like, you're gonna take my part, motherfucker.
Yeah. He's gonna get his revenge. Yeah.
I mean, it
No,
wasn't
Kane-
Ken's fault, obviously. but-
Kane cares so much, and he brings the goods. That's the part that always pissed me off about look, when he got recast by somebody who had never watched any of the Friday 13th movies.
Right.
Didn't watch the movies.
No.
I don't understand that. Like when people come at me and I go, "Hey, don't say I'm not a fan."
Yeah.
There are other directors you can point that at, not me.
Yeah.
It's outrageous actually.
Well,
And
yeah.
honestly, I also think that's a big fuck you to the fans.
Well, I remember someone quoted the director of the Nightmare remake as saying, "I'm just doing this to get my first film credit, and I don't really care about this." I'm like, well, guess what? I watched your movie, and it shows.
Yep, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
didn't. But I don't want to see anything else you have to say.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I don't think he's directed a movie since. But it was just like,
It's a shame.
yeah, it's just, and again, you just look, it's like, God, if this had been handed to someone who actually gave a fuck,
Mhm.
or actually had an ambition to do something with this story, rather than just handing it to someone for some other arbitrary reason. And I see that happen on $100 million franchise
Oh,
movies.
sure.
It's like,
Sure.
why did you give it to someone who had no feel for the material, who couldn't give a crap?
Right.
You could have given it to this guy. I'll say this, and at the end of the day, even if you don't like Jason Goes to Hell, and there's a few people out there who have been very vocal about that,
There have.
even if you, believe it or not, I don't get it either.
Weird.
If you don't like the movie, fine. But I will always give credit to any filmmaker who swings for the fucking fences when they're not bad. Because at the end of the day, man, you never know if you're going to get another shot. You don't know if you're going to have an opportunity to tell another story. So if you get up there and you strike out, or the ball goes over and blows someone's fucking head off, or flies out of the stadium and hits a nuclear reactor and blows the whole goddamn town up, well, that sucks, but motherfuckers swung for the fences, And so I
Yeah.
always give it, even if the film ultimately isn't successful,
Yeah.
I go, at least he tried. At least they gave it. They put everything they had into it. That's all you can ask.
And
Well,
by the
I
way-
see tons of screeners, for the show, and the ones that are most boring to me might be technically well made, but
But there's
it's
nothing
like-
there. There's
yeah,
nothing.
it's
There's
someone just made a movie for the sake of making a movie.
someone called action and cut, but that's about all I'm seeing here.
And there might be something that maybe didn't work. I didn't really like it, but if you could tell, like they're trying to do something different, or they're having fun making it, that's way more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And by the way, my favorite Friday always has been is Tommy's entry into the movie.
Part 6 is great.
Part 6 is my favorite. But also, look at that movie. You talk about swinging for the fences.
Oh, he did some wonderful stuff in that movie.
And he was like, I'm making zombie Jason. Like, this is a
It's
total change from the franchise.
It's Frankenstein. There's humor, like self-deprecating humor in that.
And that was the thing. It was the humor. That was the thing that connected to me the most because, and I've always said this, Jason Goes to Hell is a sister film to Jason Lives. That's what it is. And Tommy and I have become incredibly good friends since Jason Goes to Hell. For that very reason.
It's a beautiful looking film. He's got great actors. And I just love the one moment where the one kid, so what were you going to be when you grew up? It's like, this is the first Friday the 13th movie made by people who are aware of Friday the 13th movies.
Yes.
The people in it are aware of these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't go over the top where it becomes like parody.
No, and it's a really, part 6 was just like, this is stunningly well made for a Friday the 13th movie.
Right. Right. And again, it's that care that I think makes all the difference. And a sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You have to have a sense of humor. The ones that don't, it's like, ugh.
That's why I enjoy Jason X so much. They knew what that movie was.
Of course they did.
They did. I mean, they have a virtual reality sequence in there where he goes back to goes back to Crystal Lake. It's like, you want to have unprotected sex? And it's
amazing.
Oh, they knew what they were doing.
By the way, the shame of Jason X, and it is a shame, is that they didn't make that fucking script.
Yeah.
Like Todd Farmer's script for that movie was so good. It was so good. And I was in that group at that time. So I read that script. And I'm telling you, when Shawn asked me to come to the first screening, the first screening of filmmakers watching it to give notes, I just remember being heartbroken for Todd. Like, God damn it, man. They just pulled the soul out of what you were trying to do. That script was funny and so badass, which is a badass. And poor James Isaac and Todd, they really got shackled. They really did.
And there's still a lot of great stuff in that movie.
There is.
One of my favorite moments is when the big soldier guy gets stabbed. It's like, it's gonna take more to take this old dog down, the little poke in the ribs. Oh, yeah. That ought to do it. Yeah. Okay. I'm down with this movie. I get it. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
But it's always sad when you see someone trying to do something really different and just the edges get sanded off.
Yeah.
Everything gets just like,
there it is. There it is.
There we go.
Look, please, anybody who ever gets a chance to read Deb and my original script for Chainsaw 3D, they're always like, why didn't they make this? Like, why would they change any of this? By the way, that screenplay got Deb and I 4 more jobs. The screenplay, not the movie. The screenplay did.
Yeah. But hey, we got to do your thing, cuz. So, I mean, it's a trade-off. Great movie. Really memorable line. I'll take the memorable line, I guess.
Oh, man.
I will say the movie stands out for me because it was the only movie I've ever been carded at. I never was carded at a movie in my teens when I was a kid, like when I was 12. But I was 40 years old and I was carded at Texas Chainsaw 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing about Texas Chainsaw. Don't blame Adam and Deborah for the fact that the timeline of that movie makes no fucking sense whatsoever. How old are these people? What's going on?
By the way, the movie took place in 1993, and the reason I can prove that is that in the screenplay, in the town square, the movie that's playing is Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
So, the movie takes place in 93. There was no smartphone scene
No,
that
I
didn't
know.
exist. I'm like, what the fuck, guys? And by the way, they use so much of what we did right that we can't deny the movie. We're like, yeah, that's our movie, but it's not our movie. And I'm telling you, look, I only wish, like, that's one of those movies I wish I could go back and go, let me just reshoot this thing. Let me just shoot the thing over. Let's just do a do-over because the audience deserves the movie we were doing. And by the way, we wouldn't have had any of the Jason Goes to Hell controversy because we wrote a Texas Chainsaw movie. Like, it was that movie.
You mean Leatherface wasn't body hopping from people to?
He was not. Not. That was my original concept. Actually,
go on.
My original concept for that movie was Leatherface and the family crossing into Nuevo Laredo from Texas, and the movie was Leatherface versus Scarface.
Oh, that would have been so much.
That
fun.
was the original movie. That's what we
Leatherface
wanted.
meets Narcos.
Yes, that's what it was. And it literally made the family the heroes. They were the heroes of the movie. It was crazy. It was really nuts. But of course,
was there more of the family involved in the movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Because I always think any of the sequels that kind of just fixate on Leatherface, they really miss like what made those movies.
The best movies have been the one where the family gets involved.
Yeah,
that's why I like Jeff Burr's the third movie a lot.
Yeah,
the family stuff is really good. Even the prequel to the remake is better, I think, because the family gets more attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they just focus on Leatherface, it's not as much.
It's not really that interesting of a character. You really need
Right.
the family.
He has a function within the family that works.
But by himself, he doesn't really work, I think.
No,
it's not a Freddy.
No, but I love that idea for the original screenplay. But I don't know that. Do your thing, cuz.
And Dan Yeager's really good in it because
Dan's great.
He moves like Gunner, which not all the
but he had respect
do.
for Gunner.
He had a lot of, unlike
Gunner.
some of the other actors who have played the role.
That's right.
Not going to name names, but you know who the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. Boy, do I know. Yeah. No, I don't understand. Look, I don't understand any actor who's excited or wants to play a part and does not want to honor what came before them. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. Never understood.
Yeah, and that guy you're talking about, one of the few people that I have a bad experience with at a convention.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same with Michael.
Yeah.
Same with pretty much everybody.
Only one of two people, and I've been to lots of things. So.
You won't. I don't want to get onto a fucking thing.
No, he's not worth it, and I think he's blackballed for pretty much everywhere. So no one has to worry about it. I also want to ask Adam, because I've heard you mention this a few times.
Yeah.
That you've been offered like Leprechaun movies very often, but why have you turned down Leprechaun films?
Boy, I've been offered a few Leprechaun movies. That's what's crazy. Like they keep coming back. I'll tell you why. Because the Leprechaun franchise, and again, there are a number of those movies that I think are really clever and really well done. So I'm not a Leprechaun hater. That's ridiculous. The problem is every time they would bring me a concept that they had, it was a lot. I just kept going, that's what you want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody said to me, hey, could you write an original Leprechaun movie to direct? I'd be
sure.
I'm all over that. Like, fuck yeah. Because it's a great character and it's a great idea. I just feel like the first movie in Leprechaun is already a parody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, look, the greatness of Friday the 13th, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Hellraiser, all of these movies, the first movie is terrifying. The first movie is a straight horror film, not played for laughs, but played to scare you. And in a lot of cases, the second movie follows that, where it's also really... Now, by the way, Tobe Hooper's follow-up to Texas Chainsaw, I mean, I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's purely him. Like, it's just Tobe going...
Well, he knew that was the only way to go at that point. You can't out-intensify the first movie.
It's impossible.
So we just make a satire and a send-up of the whole fucking thing.
Right. And look, I think Halloween 2 is a terrific film. I think Friday the 13th Part 2 is a better film than the original. So I think a lot of these and by the way, I think Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is a really cool movie. I get why it's divisive, but I think it's really
and that cool. Had a lot of Jason Goes to Hell type shit too.
Yes.
Because it was like, well, he's not really in the dream world. But
it's kind of breaking the rules of the first movie.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
But I like that now. I can respect that now because it's like, hey, at least they weren't doing the same fucking thing all over again.
Yeah.
If someone allowed me to make the new Nightmare version of Leprechaun, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah, I'm in all day on that.
So like a reverse of Texas Chainsaw, where it's like the first one is a parody, so that, like the new one would be the straight horror? Is that
hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. No, I would love to make the really badass, ugly version of Leprechaun all fucking day, man. Look, Deb and I were brought in to do a sequel to Cabin Fever. And we wrote a movie that was it was a Cabin Fever movie that was half They Came From Within and half Lucio Fulci Zombie. That's the movie we came up with.
That's a good combo.
It is so, the script is so freak. And by the way, it's a script that we got because of Texas Chainsaw. It is a script that is so fucking terrifying and ugly, and the whole thing is my path on cabin fever was like, okay, I love the idea that this is a disease that gets transmitted, but I think it should only be sexually. And next thing you know, we're writing a movie where we were legitimately talking to actors who work in XXX movies to be in the film.
Because
it's like
there's going to have to be a lot of nudity in this.
Not just nudity, but like,
Fucking
we're going to show some stuff, guys. Like, I was like, I said, you know, with Jason Goes to Hell, they wanted me to, you know, shoot scenes that they knew they were going to cut because they knew we were going to have an unrated cut. Like, they already had that in the marketing plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's shoot a horror movie that's actually got hardcore scenes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And you have a cut, an uncut, and a cut version.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, like, if the company had not gone under, which it did, that was a movie that I was going to direct. Like, that was a movie. I love that movie. So I am all about extending franchises if you can find a better way to tell the story. You got to say something new. Yeah. I'm not interested in. Look, I got offered Amityville 97. I got offered Leprechaun. I got offered Pumpkinhead 2.
Oh God.
And I went down the line on that movie, right? And this is what happened. This is a true story. I'm in development on the movie, and I said, okay, well, look, I'm going to want to look at, you know, some African American actors to play the witch. Like, I want to, you know, if this movie's about voodoo. And they went, no. I was like, what do you mean no? They said, black just doesn't sell overseas. I said, wait a minute. You want to make a movie that takes place in Louisiana Bayou, and it's a voodoo story, and you don't want to have any black actors in your movie? And I literally went, yeah, I'm not doing this movie.
Yeah.
I walked out of the meeting. By the way, I'm the one who suggested Jeff to direct the movie. And then I told him about Bill Dill. I was like, you want somebody to make this movie look great? Get Bill. That's why Bill Dill shot that movie. So I was like, hey, at least I got a black cinematographer on the movie. Dicks.
Yeah, even Jeff Burr couldn't make that movie work.
No one could. And I mean, I saw that truck coming at me, and I was like, absolutely not. So look, here's the problem with franchise filmmaking. I was blessed to work with New Line, because New Line, look, when you're the house that Freddie built, they loved horror movies. They understood it. They were young. They were like punk rock executives. And those are people you want to make a movie for, especially a franchise film. When you're, by the way, Lionsgate was the same way. Lionsgate was awesome. Lionsgate did not do what they did on Texas Chainsaw. That was not their fault at all. That was purely the producer on that movie he who shall not be named. But I'm telling you, when you're working with executives that don't give a shit about the source material, they just see money, run away from those producers, because they're never going to make a film that's for the fans. They're the exact people who call the fans idiots. Those are the guys who do it. And I never want to make a movie like that. I only want to make movies with people who are excited to make the movie we're making.
Yeah, and it just bothers me whenever I see a sequel of any stripe. Like, I call it the Home Alone 2 kind of situation, where it's like, I enjoy Home Alone 2. It's fun. Very well made movie.
Yes,
There's not one original thought in that film, aside from the fact it's set in New York. It's the same fucking thing.
It's the exact same movie.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, cosmetic changes are cute, but at the end of the day, if you don't really have anything new to say, and you can't advance the story at all, then it's really just a money grab, and you feel that when you're watching stuff like that. It's just, and again, like with these franchise, like I always go back to like they did $100 million Battleship movie. It's a fucking board game. And I went and saw this thing, and I went, this is the most uninspired shit I've ever seen. Why didn't you give this to somebody who would have looked at this and gone, we can do anything we want as long as it somehow ties into the board game?
Right.
You could have had one of the most spectacular films of all time, and yet you got this run of them. And I'm not blaming Peter Berg, the director, that necessarily. I'm sure he had his fucking problems with that as well.
Yeah.
But it's like the marching orders, like, all right, here's the checklist of things that we think this movie needs based on the other 10 things that came out.
And make sure you make a montage with AC/DC Thunderstruck.
Right.
As long as we get that in there. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
and it's just
man.
like, what the fuck is this? You know,
I mean,
it's
look at Barbie was such a weird movie stuff, and that, you know, because you could have made a Barbie movie, and it would be like the Battleship. It would be just some nothing movie.
Right.
But they did something, you know, completely unique with that.
Yeah, like I wasn't a huge fan of Barbie. I think it's not.
Yeah.
It really. I had some kind of
I have issues with
moral issues with that movie, the
Me
way
too.
it was structured. But
it's definitely unique.
It's on it's Greta Gerwig's vision.
Yeah.
I'll give her that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I applaud them for that, for having the guts to do that.
Because, by the way, why hire a filmmaker if you don't want their vision? What's the point?
I know. Why bring someone in? You know,
And by the way, Peter Berg is one of those directors. Like when you look at his best work, like Patriots Day, I think.
That is the street assault scene.
Oh my god!
I just rewatched Deepwater Horizon.
Oh, incredible!
The first 45 minutes of that movie is some of the most incredibly skillful build-up I've ever seen, because you know what's coming, but you don't know how it's going to manifest itself. And there was a reason it got nominated for sound effects and visual effects that year. It's incredibly well done. Berg is very, very good at that. The Rundown is another one of his films I really like. But it's just like, but then you bring in people... But then why bring Peter Berg in to do something like Battleship? And I got to believe it's like, shackle him to that story?
Well, I think they also were like, here's the guy who can really do war sequences well, and he's good with military stuff. And
he can give us Big Bang Bang, you know.
We'll give him $9 million, and he'll and again, I understand when you're Peter Berg and somebody rolls up the wheelbarrow.
Fuck yeah.
You go, okay.
Yeah. I don't begrudge him
6 months of my life. Got it. All right, let's do this.
Sure. But it's just like, God, what you could have done with that.
Because
and also Battleship's a name brand, but who's going to come out of the I'm afraid the fidelity to the board game is just not acceptable. No one's going to do that shit. You could have done, or if someone would have, but it would have been two people.
Honestly, on that movie, I don't understand the IP. I really don't. Like, I'm sorry. Like, our kids today or 10 years ago were such Battleship fans. Like,
yeah.
Oh, somebody finally made this into a movie. I'm waiting
for the big Connect 4 movie.
Right,
I'm waiting for the Chutes and Ladders. $200 million.
I think you could make a cool Hungry Hippos movie.
Oh fuck yeah, you could.
By the way, I think you could make a great horror movie out of Chutes and Ladders.
Oh yeah, that's Saw. That's basically Saw.
Totally. Mousetrap? Are you kidding? Mousetrap is a Saw sequel. Like it's just made. It's perfectly made for it. Yeah. So no, I think there is IP that I understand it. With Battleship, I was like, what is this? Why did
we waste $100 million plus on this?
Yes.
It was just
I don't get it. Checkers, the movie. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
And I remember, I'll never forget this. It was right when that movie came out. The head of Universal at the time came out and apologized for a whole bunch of movies they had done, including Babe Pig in the City, which was one of the most creative sequels I've ever seen.
It's fantastic.
He came out and apologized for all these things we're doing, and I said, we're not going to do that anymore. It's like, you just released Battleship. Is that part of your apology? Because if it is, your apology sucks.
And by the way, anyone who apologizes for a George Miller movie, go fuck yourself.
Yes.
There you go. There you go. Like, come on. I'm sorry. No,
he's one of the most. Talk about a go for broke filmmaker.
Right. Talk about a filmmaker who has never just taken a paycheck. Never.
No.
You know? I mean, no. Sorry. No, that's too much of a badass.
No.
I want to ask one more thing about Jason Goes to Hell. Why The Crate? Because The Crate's actually Creep Show is one of my favorite movies.
Well, something's got to be in the attic, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a personal movie to you or.
No, of course, it's a personal movie to me. I mean, look, I tried to sneak in an Easter egg for every filmmaker that I was in love with at that time. Yeah. And Romero is, I mean, our genre is it's a rarity in one really beautiful way. We have these guys who make these nightmares that present these nightmares to us. But so many of them of the greatest are the sweetest men you ever met. Like
George was
filmmakers.
one of the nicest men I was so lucky to become friends with that man, and it's just like, you're too nice. It's like,
Yes.
it's like,
Yes. And so I wanted the Voorhees house to have things that had some mystical value, that there was some kind of black magic about a lot of stuff. And so I was like, okay, what can I take from George's work that I can do that with? And I was like, you know what? Let's put the crate in.
Yeah.
And my set designer was like, okay, this is amazing. Like in 5 minutes, I got it. The other thing is that everybody always, goes like, oh, it's The Hidden. It's not The Hidden. I hadn't seen The Hidden when I made this movie. I had not seen that movie. It's The Thing.
Yeah.
Jason Goes to Hell is The Thing. By the way, The Thing, I meing, you had someone earlier talking about Secret Santa. I literally got a line of dialogue from The Thing in the movie as an Easter egg, because the Thing is one of the single most influential movies on my career.
And same here. It's one of my top 5 favorite films of all time.
Me too.
I just watched it again yesterday.
And it's funny because someone was interviewing me a few years back, and this came up, right? And The Thing came up. And as I was talking about it, I suddenly went, oh, wait a minute. I just discovered something about myself. And it was, I've never drank or done drugs of any kind. I've never drank alcohol in my life. I don't even drink coffee. Like, I don't even have caffeine.
I'm not a coffee drinker either. But
I'm a coffee drinker. Yeah,
so, but I've never done any of this stuff, right? A big part of it is that I watched so many people of my age when I was a kid, just fucked up all the time and ruined their lives. And,
it wasn't appealing to me either. I know what you mean by that.
Right?
You see it and you're just like, I don't want to do that.
At all. By the way, Eric Beatner, same as me, we've never touched alcohol, never had a drug in our lives, the two of us. And we grew up together. We were both straight edge, had the X's on our hands. Eric was a guitarist in punk bands, and the whole thing. But here's the thing. What happened with that is that I hated the idea of loss of self. I hated the idea of being out of control. And suddenly I was like, oh my God, that's what The Thing is about. And that's what Jason Goes to Hell is about.
That's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Because that's what really still gets me about The Thing is I'll be watching it going, now, do the guys know that they're the Thing? Or is it something that takes them over at certain points when it needs to survive? Do they even really know?
And the scariest scene for me in Jason Goes to Hell on that idea is when Officer Josh, when Andy Block melts. Because my whole thing was, Jason comes into your body, you don't know, you're no longer you. It's Jason, right? Yeah. You're just the vessel. But when it leaves your body, the toxicity of what you've done makes your whole person melt away, which, by the way, is my feeling about people who become alcoholics and all this stuff that it destroys you from the inside. It is literally destroying you. And suddenly I was like, oh my God, like The Thing is really about that. And Jason Goes to Hell is about that. And it's all about my fear of loss of self and how I feel about drug and alcohol abuse.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that's the thing about, the Jason goes into the body. That person's not them anymore, but are they still trapped in there being forced to watch?
Right. What's happening?
Yeah. So that's kind of, look, all this subtext, everything is really interesting. It's not, do your thing, cuz it's not as good as something like that. But it's really, it's ambitious material. And I appreciate that, I can make fun of you for it because I know you didn't do it. So it's not like
I can't wait. I can't wait for you and I to make the Texas Chainsaw 3D documentary. I'm very excited.
Oh God,
so excited.
Oh man, I produced the Blu-ray of that, so
I know you did.
There's a lot of footage I didn't use from the behind the scenes on that. A lot of unhappy people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Hearts of Darkness, the Making the Final Friday, is going to have its world premiere March 8th at FrightFest in Glasgow. That's amazing. And I saw you guys are also going to be at Texas Frightmare in the U.S.
That's going to be the American premiere. The American premiere is at Texas Frightmare. Both Michael and I will both be there. Deborah's going to be there. A bunch, actually. I think most of the producing team is coming. And Kane is going to be there, which is awesome. He's going to be Frightmare with us. I will also say, look, the thing about Glasgow. So Alan Jones, who's one of the 4 people who created FrightFest,
Great journalist, great writer. Really good.
He's amazing. He's like my fairy godfather. This guy, he saw Secret Santa at Sitges when it had its world premiere at Sitges years ago, and he wrote me an email that was basically a review of my film directly to me, but it was him asking me to be at FrightFest Glasgow. And so he wrote this review, and the review was so beautiful. It was a true story. I'm downstairs in my office at my writing desk, and Deborah, her office is 3 floors above me. So I wrote to her like, "Hun, you got to come down here right now. Like, it's really important." And I called her and I was like, and I was literally crying at the review. I was sobbing at my desk. Deborah runs downstairs like, "Oh my God, honey, what happened? Is everything okay?" And I said, and she comes over to the computer. She looks at the email. Suddenly she's crying her eyes out. Okay. And all it said was, "Please let me show this at FrightFest. I adore this film. And I have always been a fan of yours. Check my receipts." I went back and looked. This man has written an incredible review for everything I've directed. It's unbelievable. Like, he knows my entire body of work. So I wrote to him and I said, "Alan, I would be honored to go to FrightFest Glasgow. All I ask in return is that you publish what you've written for me as the review of this movie." He said, "I've already done it, darling." So we go to FrightFest. We go to be in the festival, and we land in London. This is in 2018, the year of The Beast from the East, which equates to half an inch of snow in the United Kingdom. Half an inch of snow. It shut the entire country down. We could not go to Glasgow by train, by car, by plane. No way to get there. And Alan was stuck in London with us.
Wow.
So Alan and our entire team, by the way, like 5 people from the cast, the entire producing team, the writing and the writer, director, everybody, we were all there together. We ended up at Gordon Ramsay's Steak, his London restaurant, because my partner Brian's husband cuts all of Gordon Ramsay's American shows, Hell's Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares. Yeah. So we were all so depressed we couldn't get to the screening and including Alan, the guy who runs the festival, that Chris was like, "I'm going to call Gordon's people, see if we can get at least make something nice." So we end up at Gordon Ramsay's Steak, and suddenly I had sent a little video for like to intro the movie. But I had Deborah, this is the day of the screening, I had Deborah shoot me in a close-up, literally this tight. And I watched on a phone while she was shooting me, I watched Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You. Mm-hmm. And I lip synced to that song as my intro to the fans at Glasgow. Okay. The intro played and suddenly Twitter lit up. And one of the tweets was Adam Marcus and Skeleton Crew just owned Glasgow Fright Fest and the movie hasn't even started yet. By the time the film had shown and everybody was writing the reviews and the reviews were extraordinary, like just beautiful, Alan at dinner with us made a deal with our partner Brian to make it the first film that Fright Fest ever released in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
It was the first time they'd ever done it. And so I never got to go to Fright Fest Glasgow. By the way, we went to London Fright Fest 4 months later because they brought it there because we couldn't get there. When we were at Fright Fest London and Alan was interviewing Deborah and I before the film played, he said, "What are you working on?" I said, the fans are really pushing me to do a Jason Goes to Hell documentary, so I'm going to do that. And he was like, "You are?" I was like, "Yes." He said, "Well, you have to promise me right now that you're going to show that film here first. We're going to get the premiere of that film." And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "Great, done. Everybody in the audience, we're doing it. We're showing the film." And so the only person I went to when this movie was finished was Alan. I sent him a direct link and I said, "I promise you first look." And he went, "Absolutely. We're showing this in Glasgow and you can finally come." And so Deborah and I fly out next Thursday to finally go to Glasgow Fright Fest to actually watch one of our films with that audience.
Well,
So-
that's great. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
Pretty
really
cool.
cool.
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty
have a
awesome.
great time.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I Fright Fest is where we not Glasgow, but where we premiered Once a Feature Smash.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It
Oh,
means
I
a
know.
lot to me too.
It's
Yeah.
a great. I've never been, but the things I hear about that festival are just.
It's awesome because they also don't have any prizes. They don't give awards to anybody.
Mhm.
It's just about the love of all of these movies.
Right.
They're just celebrating genre in the best way, and the audiences are incredible.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
there's,
you get to go to Glasgow for God's sake. It's just-
yeah. That's not so bad itself.
No.
It's really true.
All right, so where can people go to see where Hearts of Darkness goes? You know, if they can't make it to Fright Fest or.
Well, they can definitely come to Texas Frightmare. So anybody can make their way down there. Get your asses
Which is
there.
also a great convention. One of my
Yes, it
favorites.
It's a huge show. It's just great.
Yes, it is. So we're really excited about that. So we're going to show it there. Then, of course, people like the Gardenia Cinema, where we are in talks to show it with Jason Goes to Hell. So that'll be kind of extraordinary. So yeah, we're doing that. We are in negotiation with several other big festivals. I can't give it away yet, but we should be having some premieres. You know, some places like Canada, things like that, where we're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff. And I'm personally going to take the film to as many conventions and fests as I can before the physical release of the movie. So people will get to see it on a big screen. I want people to have the chance to do that. So I'm going to try to hit as many cities in America, in North America, over the next 6 months. That's what we're doing. We're pretty sure the doc will be out sometime around, Halloweenish time for people to own a copy of it. And we are going to make sure that no streaming happens until well after that doc hits on physical media, because I'm telling you, man, like, I am so sick of the first of pirating, which is grotesque, but also, look, once the genie goes out of the bottle,
It's done. Yeah, it's over.
yeah, there's no interest anymore. So for me, this is really about creating a stir about a Blu-ray set that is going to be incredible. Like, it's really going to be special. And I want people to check that out. Like, I want people to go and say, no, I'm going to support this movie the real way. So yeah, all of the people who went to Indiegogo, the people who actually bought it on Indiegogo got it for a bargain. Like, they got it for way less than what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So that's kind of great and kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, all those people are going to get rewarded for jumping in first, which is great. But
I was going to ask you, is there any way we can just say no and just screw those people?
so what we're going to do is good. I know that I'm going to get like 15 emails in the next hour because of that comment, Michael. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you
Director
so
of
much.
Hearts of Darkness says, "Fuck Indiegogo people." Well, that's not gonna benefit me. I'm one of the Indiegogo people, so I mean, I'm screwing myself out of a copy of it.
It's true. By the way, Michael was the third person to contribute to the campaign, and I didn't know that when I met with him to direct the movie.
I don't
And
think
it was-
I even brought it up.
No, you brought it up in our second meeting after I had already hired you. You were like, "Hey, by the way," and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
That was a hell of a perk you got there, Michael.
Well, I got one day I got the poster and the hat in a box, and I was like, "The hell is this?" Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I hope that project turns out good. It's just,
Yeah, no, it's all happening, dude. It's exciting, and look, again, I'm so happy to talk about the movie because the movie's good. This isn't one of those things where I talk about it because you have to push it and you have to get people. No.
You wouldn't see my ass on here if the documentary wasn't any good.
No,
you just email me for a quote. It's a movie.
By the way, Frightmare.
What can you tell me about it? It has credits.
What about
Frightmare? Very
Frightmare?
long credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about Frightmare?
Frightmare is just it's for a convention. It has one of the best screenings.
Yeah.
Sometimes at
Yeah.
conventions, the screening is kind of just a place for people to go sit down when they're not getting autographs.
Well,
Whatever.
they make events out of those things.
Yeah,
down there.
Frightmare actually. Yeah,
I was at the first show
they
that Lloyd.
advertise it. And
Yeah, I was at the first show Lloyd ever did back in 2006. And it was a much smaller show and a much smaller, but he was already running it like he'd been doing it for 20 years. And within like 5 years, that show had just exploded. And now it's like one of the biggest shows in the country.
Yeah.
So that's a great place to be showing it, because the horror faithful go to that show every year. And so we're preaching to the choir there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I also think Hearts of Darkness is a movie that will play well both at conventions and festivals.
Oh, absolutely.
The movie is only more of a festival movie, but because of the subject, it would definitely play well at convention.
Yeah. And again, because it is in its own way kind of a comedy, there's a tremendous amount of funny in the movie, which you can tell from the trailer. By the way, the trailer is the best representation of this movie, because it was the trailer was cut by Eric Bietner, then Michael jumped in to do his cut, and then I gave like militaristic notes from my little cabin.
And, well, he caught me on a day. I showed him my cut of the trailer, and then he called me up on a day where I was just having a shit day. And he called me up and he said, "Well, Mike, I think," and he gave very specific notes. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, no, I don't know if we can do that. I don't think that's, I don't know. Okay, all right, bye." Click. And then I'm just sitting there. Fuck, he's right. God damn it. And so then I stayed up all night working on, and the whole time I'm working, I was like, "Yep, well, that works better because he's right." You know. And then by the time the trailer is over and I rewatched the new trailer, I'm like, man, him being right really pisses me off. It really grinds my gears. You know what I'm telling you? It's just, yeah. So then, I sent it off to him. It's like, yeah. There's what you wanted. You're right. And
I saw the trailer. I was like, oh my God, it's our trailer. Like, it was like, yeah. You know,
yeah.
He was
like,
not as enthusiastic as I was.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You with your right notes, you know.
But it does represent the collaborative effort of the way this whole thing worked. It really does. And it is the tone of the movie. So if you see the trailer, that's our movie. Like, that's literally the movie we made.
Yeah.
Which opens it up, I think, for more audience than just the Friday the 13th faithful.
That's the thing I'm very interested to see people react to that don't have any interest necessarily in Jason Voorhees or give a shit about the franchise. Yeah. But they're just going to get caught up in, this guy got to make his first movie and look at what happened. Yeah. You know?
Yep.
And so I'm those are the reviews I'm going to be not that I don't want to hear from everybody, but just from me, like, what? You know, my mom could watch this documentary and I'd be very interested to see what she thought of it, you know?
I think that's a good I'm not necessarily a huge Donkey Kong fan, but I love King of Kong.
documentary. Oh, that movie's so good.
Oh, Billy.
That's the ultimate
motherfucker.
Good guy, bad guy, underdog.
Yeah.
The movie is so good.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it's just, but what's interesting about the Hearts of Darkness for me is there's no real villain in the piece necessarily.
Okay.
It's time and the shifting sands of fandom.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of and expectations. Those are the enemies of this movie in a way.
You said, it's a funny film, so I think that also is fun to watch with an audience.
Yes.
I haven't seen it with an audience yet. No one has, so it's going to be great to be at Frightmare and see how this plays, and it's just especially with a crowd that's going to understand so much of the stuff behind the scenes,
in jokes.
They'll get all that stuff, and they'll be really.
Bob Kurtzman, who is not a Laugh Riot, he's one of my closest friends for 40 years. Not a Laugh Riot, 30 years. Not a Laugh Riot. This guy is so fucking funny in this documentary. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like suddenly he's Milton Berle. I mean,
he's got some really great stuff, and he's very, very good talking about the Necronomicon.
Yeah, that's really his sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I will also say there is an Easter egg after the credits start. There's an Easter egg in the piece that is my favorite thing in the movie because it vindicates me from something that I have long had to deal with. I will not give it away until the movie premieres, but it is one of those things.
It dresses it head on, which I love.
Boy, does it. Boy, does it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, hey, everybody who had this problem, kiss my ass in Macy's window, baby.
And the thing is, it's not like this was the thing he's talking about is a huge problem. This is just one of those little things that's like a pebble in your shoe for 30 years.
Yes.
And you can tell that Adam is just very happy to be like, here's the fucking story with that. And it was a great way to end the documentary because it's just really like a final little ha-ha. You know?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I think everybody's gonna really dig it.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been great having you guys on. It was nice to meet you, Michael. Awesome. It's always
nice to meet
fun
you too.
having you on, Adam.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I look forward to seeing Hearts of Darkness.
Yep. And by the way, you're the person who got me involved with Once a Future Smash. So I love that.
Yeah. A big thank you for doing it. I asked a bunch of people that I was friendly with from doing the show, and I thought you'd be perfect for it. And you were great in it.
And I had a great time with filmmakers. They're both so extraordinary. Like,
Michael Sophia,
yeah, they're really extraordinary. They really are.
Yeah.
So
they're very nice. Yeah, they're going to come out, and I just wrote a movie, and they're going to come out and film it here.
Love it. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Great. That's really great.
I was there the day Todd Farmer was there, and it was pretty fun. We had a good time.
Yeah, and it was cool because there's a picture, we even used it in the movie, that you guys hadn't seen each other in like 10 years or something. So So it was nice you guys ran into each other because of Once a Future Smash.
And literally, we live in one town from each other here in Southern California, so it's like ridiculous. Like, we live really next door to each other, and we hadn't seen each other in forever.
So you're gonna get you're making a movie soon? Really?
Yeah. Hopefully in May is the plan.
Well, great, man. That's all I can say is good luck with that, and do your thing, cuz.
Thank you. Arbor Day.
Wow, you son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
Again, he didn't write it, folks, but the bane of his existence, and I can just keep pushing the kneeling. That's the thing you'll discover if you ever become friends with me. I'm a nice guy, but then it turns out I'm a real asshole.
He really is. He really is.
There's no argument there from Adam.
No,
none of any kind. You were going to say something, Neil. What were you asking?
Yeah.
Is there any do your thing cuz t-shirts or anything like that?
I got to tell you something. I wanted to make them. Deb and I both wanted to make them. We really do. Yeah, and it literally, like, the front of it says "Do your thing, cuz," and the back says "We didn't write that."
Write this fucking line.
That'd be great to wear it at conventions.
We should totally have that for Texas Frightmare.
Hell yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
And we will have posters for the movie, the new poster, which is
nice.
I mentioned the poster. It really is awesome. Not because you just because you guys are here or anything, but the poster.
Thanks,
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael. It was Michael's inspiration. He didn't even tell me he was doing it, and he had it fully realized by a brilliant artist and surprised me with it while I was in Ecuador with my mom.
It was another one of those, you have to get on Zoom right now.
I need to on Zoom right now. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But I got to tell you, it was the happiest version of that story, because when he showed me the poster, I was like, holy it was the same thing with the trailer. I was like, that's our movie. That's the movie. It's like, it's, you know when somebody nails it. Like, when you're like, no, that's what we're doing. And Michael's done that several times already on this movie. Yeah.
Well, it was, again, I credit to Mark Schoenbach. He took my concept I had in my head, and then he showed me the rough black and white, and went, I have no notes. Just color it in and we're done.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I love it when that happens. When you get people who are on the same wavelength as you and just get it. There's no amount of money that's just like, okay, you're on my team forever. It's just like, I can't, there's not enough value. I can't it's priceless. There's just
and I've never been the subject of a poster, so it was very strange for me.
I bet.
Wow. Yes.
Well, you're the subject of the movie, so it's just like, why not?
It's something you get used to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you hadn't done a 15-hour interview, maybe this wouldn't have been a problem. But, again, it was just like, we have to make the movie about him. 90% of the footage is him. It's just like, what are we going to do?
Would he have gone right to the police? Is what
any place you want people to follow you guys, not like to your home, but online. Unless you want them to, I don't know. But,
I'll be out on my porch with a shotgun. Just keep on driving. Just no.
Do your thing, cuz.
I'm on just Facebook for me. Usually, it's the best way to get a hold of me.
I'm Facebook, Instagram. I am on X, but I don't really do a lot on it. And Blue Sky.
I never have either.
I'm on everything, and it's always Adam Marcus 13. That's how. Yeah, I mean, I'm easy to get to no matter what. I will say this in the coming months. You're gonna see a lot of Hearts of Darkness. You will start seeing more about the Kraton Duke thing. You will also be seeing stuff about a new movie that I'm doing called Cry Havoc that Deborah and I are writing and I'm directing. It's the next one I'm going to be making. We'll be shooting down in Texas, so that's kind of exciting. And another film we're making called Paralyzed. So those are all coming in. Paralyzed is sort of my version of Inside, which is one of my favorite movies. So not the American version, the French.
Right.
So yeah. So so we got a lot of stuff going on, and Michael and I are going to be doing a ton of stuff together too. So it's all really kind of, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming from Skeleton Crew. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. And can I play the trailer? Do you guys mind?
Please do.
No, absolutely not. How dare you?
I thought I better ask. But yeah, I have it all.
No, please
do it. What are you kidding? Yes.
Here we go. Here.
God, yes. Play it on.
Hey, camera marker.
Yay, we're making a movie, and it's a Friday 13th movie. It's Jason Voorhees. This is freaking awesome.
Marker.
Here we go.
Anna Marcus, get on out here.
I was 23 when I made this movie. Why the fuck would anyone let a 23-year-old direct a franchise movie, right?
He was a child. He was a baby. He was like damn good director, knew his business.
Adam had just this great energy about it.
It was a tight schedule and tight budget.
We shot 1,000 setups in 30 days.
Blood everywhere.
Please! How was that? It was fucking gorgeous. Okay.
My favorite kill in the movie is the split body.
Look, if you're gonna die, go big or go home. Dying while having an orgasm, and as an actor, I was like, that's like a steak dinner.
That's some crazy shit. I knew we would get one shit in there.
Another shot before I fucking kill you.
Action! When I saw the bust of me in the makeup trailer, I was a little weirded out.
I've got a black tongue going out of my mouth 6 feet.
Everybody's on set going, yeah, that's a penis,
That's shocking.
The initial reaction was not great.
It was not love.
It was the worst garbage in the world.
I was actually disappointed.
I've had 3 people wish me ass cancer.
Wow, man, why is it always about my ass?
Whether the fans liked it or not, here we are, all these years later, still talking about it.
If you don't like it, you can go to hell.
This isn't the movie for nuance.
Cut!
All right, so yeah, there we go. Now that that's gonna sell everyone on the movie, I think.
I hope
so. It sells me on it.
Yeah. I'm watching that trailer going, yeah, that looks like a pretty good doc. I hope it's good.
Looks fun. That looks fun.
Yeah, you helped out on the campaign, Michael. So I hope it works out for you.
Well, yeah, I better get my goddamn Blu-ray. I'll tell you right now. I'm just gonna get pissed. I hear the director's trying to screw people out of that somehow.
Yeah, I did. I heard that. Yeah, but that guy's an asshole.
Yeah, so, he's a dick. You can't trust him. No.
All right. Well, all right. We're going to get out of here. So good night, everybody.
All right. Thanks, man.
Good night, brother. This was